Oh, hello, folks. Let's just check that we've got everything set up right. Let's get this into here. Let's get that in. As long as I get on the camera, there we are. Now we should be rocking. Hi, folks. The election. It's been run and won. Run and won. I'm Grant. I am a bird nerd. I am also a plant nerd. And um, I'm wanting to talk with you about last night's election or yesterday's election. The election didn't happen last night. The count happened last night. I have been watching the pontificators pontificate about the results, and I'm a little bit conflicted, and I'd really like to know what you think about the results. And we might try and share some of the Electoral Commission information, and there we are. Share screen. We'll do that. We'll do that in a little while. I'm going to keep an eye on the comments coming in on the socials as well. Been in a bit of controversy today because I think the government, in the position that it's in and looking like having well over 80 seats in the lower house, you need 75 to form government in Australia. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do and what they will be forced to do when we know the makeup of the Senate. And that may be quite some time away before that becomes clear. Let me just see. Just got some messages, but no, they're not about this. So, have you got anything that you would like to share with me? I can see we've got some people on YouTube and some people on Twitch. So hit the comments. Let me know what your gut feeling was about the election. I am really wanting to share my thoughts about where we're going to be in terms of biodiversity, preservation, habitat loss, practical conservation in Australia. So throw in your thoughts, please. I'll start it off. I was pretty pleased hearing both Penny Wong and Anthony Albanese speak last night. I thought they touched on most of the right elements for me that were important for me. I think there's going to be a bit more humanity in the government when we're focused on domestic issues. I'm not so confident about recognising the actions of Israel, genocide in Gaza, aggressive drone strikes on humanitarian vessels in the Mediterranean off Malta. Overnight, more missile strikes into Syria. So all of those things that we know what a repulsive regime the current Israeli government is. I'm not confident, but I hope that the ALP now will have the guts, given the endorsement that the electorate has given them, that they will actually issue an arms embargo. I mean, we've got to give them credit. They've moved away from Israel in the UN. So there's some more things that they can do. DJ, thanks very much. Who's this dickhead? Are you on? Yeah. I'm not going to put your comment up since you're being racist about Penny Wong. If you want to be constructive, have a crack at it. DJ, DJ, let's flesh out that idea. Okay, about things like transmission lines and whatnot. There's a conundrum, right? There's a conundrum here. For climate action, we need to move towards more renewable energy. Thankfully, we're not even considering nuclear options. But to move to to greater reliance on renewable energy, and whatever mix that may take, and that's going to vary in area to area, transmission lines need to be upgraded. So governments have to decide how to do it. And then there is always the issue of how much does it cost? Where do these things go? Now, what I want everyone, including governments, but I want everyone, including you and your neighbours and your friends and your family, to start having these discussions. I keep hearing people talking about the homeless problem and urban sprawl, but just look at Melbourne. The whole eastern side of Melbourne is suffering from NIMBYism. Oh, look at our heritage values. We like our big suburban yards. Well, we can't contain urban sprawl unless we get higher density housing in our existing suburbs. Personally, I don't want new suburbs being developed at anywhere near the rate that we are now. I've had an interesting discussion on the social media today about mass migration, or mass immigration is the terminology. Well, people are offering a simplistic solution that we just stop migration. Okay, stop going to the fucking doctor. If you got a toothache, fuck that, because we don't have enough dentists. We don't have enough nurses. We don't have enough people here to build the houses that we need for the homeless. So let's have a fucking grown-up discussion. Sorry about the swearing, but this really gets my goat, because people say, stop mass immigration. How the fuck do we do that? The first government that does that gets chucked out, and then we go back to having a conservative government with open slather, digging more holes, cutting down more shit. I don't think that's the solution we want. So we need to start introducing, in my view, more nuanced and sensitive discussions about the situation we actually find ourselves in. If anyone's interested in the whole concept of degrowth, or where some people think the future of humanity lies, go back into the archive on YouTube for the Bird Emergency and have a look at my interview about degrowth. Have a look at my conversation with Lyle Lewis about how long he thinks human beings have got to exist on the planet. He reckons within 50 years we're going extinct. when I confronted degrowth, we have that problem about who gets to have children, right? How do we reduce, um, people say, oh, it's about fertility. Okay. Who do we say can't have kids? I mean, these are the simple, practical questions we need to deal with. Right? I chose not to have children, uh, but most people don't make that choice. How? So, as a society, we need to have these discussions. We basically can't keep eating the amount of beef that we do. Um, we can't continue farming the way we do. Look what's happening in Pakistan and India at the moment. There looks like being a full on conflict, and they're both nuclear states over the Indus River. India is walking back on an agreement that gives Pakistan access to the water of the Indus River. Now it's being dressed up as, oh, there's been terrorism. Now there has been terrorism. There's been a slaughter. But the root issue is about the water in the Indus River. So these kind of problems aren't going away. We're going to have New South Wales and Queensland and Victoria, New South Wales, South Australia and Victoria fighting over the water in the Murray-Darling system. Queensland will too. These are hard conversations we need to have. And last night, I haven't even got to the results yet. But trust me, I am going to get to the results, and we'll have a look at that soon. But here's we always have a bit of editorial, don't we, at the start of programs like this? I was pleased with the conversation that the nation has moved towards, or moved into, full steam ahead, really, about climate change and renewable energy. But the government is very, very careful never to mention biodiversity and conservation in that discussion. And my gut feeling is, and this is what I want to know from you. This is my position. I think it's very easy for a government, doesn't matter what colour, doesn't matter what type, to pretend that it is doing things about conservation and biodiversity when it talks about climate change. And I don't think the electorate at the moment is savvy enough. I think they have the capability to be savvy enough, but I don't think it's being presented to them that action on climate is not protecting koalas. It's not protecting the swift parrot. It's not protecting the greater gliders. It's not protecting the forests. It's not protecting fragile, arid and semi-arid habitats in Australia. And I'm sure the same conversations and the same situations are happening around the world. But I'm just going to confine my thoughts to what's happening in Australia as a result of this election. So how do you help? How do you help? How do I help? How do all those amazing people, and I've interviewed well over 100 of them on the bird emergency, who are doing the research, who are doing the practical conservation work, who are existing on stipends to do the research, that are less than somebody who puts letters into envelopes and licks the stamps at most offices that we find in the suburbs of, or the city blocks of Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. So how do we move forward? That's what I want to hear from you, DJ. Thank you for your comment to get things rolling. Biodiversity and conservation is much higher priority to me than climate change. Thanks for talking about it. My pleasure, DJ. I've been banging on about this for years, right? Uh, do take the time to go and have a look at some of the amazing people that I've spoken to for the bird emergency. I'd noticed that Gregory Andrews liked my post about this live stream. So, hello, Gregory, if you're in the audience. People like Hugh Possingham. I saw a pretty cheeky post about Chat GPT on, I think it was on Twitter, not sure, or Blue Sky Today from Cat Young. I mean, Cat working on with the Difficult Birds group on the 40 spotted pardalote, the Swift Parrot, countless others, no doubt. A lot of work with the Fenner School in ANU. I mean, there's just countless people who are doing the work, and they're not taking market rate sort of wages. They could be they'd make more money if they were receptionists at an insurance company or answering the phones at a medical center, right? So I want to stay a bit organized because I want to talk about the results and what it means. But I want these issues to be front of mind for anyone who's watching now. And I'm happy there's quite a few. Let's see, where are you all? Mostly on YouTube, so that's great. So hopefully you're all on the Bird Emergency YouTube channel, and hello Twitch. How do you, and based on the result that the Greens look to have got, which is a great disappointment for me in the election. I'm happy that that it looks like most of the independents with the climate 200 connection. By the way, I interviewed Simon Holmes a Court for the Bird Emergency. I think we're looking back about 4 years ago, before Climate 200 was even a thing. So please go back and check that out. Um, but the Greens look like they have, in terms of representation, gone backwards, even though their percentage vote seems to have held up. So why isn't the electorate embracing the Greens when we know that the electorate is concerned about conservation? We know that the electorate continually says that they uh, um, uh, that they value our natural heritage, our wildlife, our unique environment. They tell us that poll after poll after poll. So how do we break the nexus between everybody wanting a greater economic future and governments presenting that to them as being possible without any hard decisions to be made? Um, uh, so, what do you reckon? I want to hear. I want to hear your thoughts. Uh, and do you have any suggestions, or do you have any ideas or any thoughts about how you are going to handle conversations with people that you know so that these issues don't disappear for the next 3 years? Because that's my concern, that everyone will go, right, job's done, we don't need to do anything else now. uh, can you hear my bird? Can you hear my bird at the moment? I'm going to have to let him in because that's bear with me just a minute. All right, bear with me just a minute. Want to come with me? Come on. Come here. Come on. Come here. We'll bring this. Come on. best way to keep the bird quiet is to bring him in. Bring him into the conversation. So meet Loz, everyone. Loz is a rainbow lorikeet. And I'm just answering something on Twitter. Yeah, thank you, Loz. I love you too. Yeah, so what do we reckon? What do we reckon? DJ, how are you going to handle these conversations that we need to have with our friends, our neighbours, our representatives? Um, we've got a government that now has the ability. Where are we? I'll just pop get that one in. Loz, stop that. Where are we? Let me get this over. We'll get the refreshing happening here. Loz, stop it. Okay, all right, we'll take that off. I know you love that. Good. Okay, let's have a look at the tally room and the results. Bit disorganised this morning, distracted. Okay, so the national results. National results. Here we go. For the House of Reps. Let's have a look. So, Labor has easily got to the 75, and the Liberals are looking like getting to about 40, maybe 43. Katters kept one. So far, there are no Greens that are able to be declared, which is a worry. Looks like nearly all of the independents have held their seats, and there may be some new ones. And what have we got? There are still 20 seats that are not being able to be declared, or Bean, Bendigo, Blaxland, Brisbane, Cornwall, Farrer, Flinders, Franklin, Fraser, my electorate, Fremantle, Griffith, Hunter, Maranoa, Mayo, Melbourne, which is Adam Bant's seat for the Greens, Monash, Newcastle, Richmond, Ryan, and Watson. So let's just squiz through a few of them. Labor was supposed to do terribly in Victoria, and they had a small swing towards them. Look at that. The Greens, still no seats. Nationals. I mean, the Nationals vote hasn't been too flash, really. Anyway, we don't really need to go through all of them. Two-party preferred, though. A national count at a 2.85 swing to Labor, 54.98, almost 55. That is actually more than most of the polls gave them the hope of getting. Let me just keep looking at our chat. Okay, Tingus, the friendly fish. I love that. I don't know. Did any of you see my post this morning? What do we got here? No different to you assuming that conservative voters don't have the best interests of our country in mind by telling them to fuck off. Let's see. I'll just have a look who Suzanne is. Aussie mum into urban ecology, loves the bush, simple life, permaculture, Queensland, and Australian wildlife. Okay, I don't want to make an enemy of Suzanne. We're probably natural allies. She didn't like my tweet this morning where I said, I have newfound respect and admiration for the quiet Australians, because that was what Dutton was talking about. He's going to be he's going to be returned by the quiet Australians, or he's going to be stormed into government because the quiet Australians have had enough of Labor and their waste. And so my tweet said, I have a newfound respect and admiration for the quiet Australians who have very loudly told the Conservative, Liberal, and National parties to fuck off. Suzanne didn't like that. She said, no different to you assuming that Conservative voters don't have the best interests of our country in mind by telling them to fuck off. Yeah, I don't believe that Conservative voters, when we are talking about biodiversity, preservation of habitat, trying to minimise our impact on natural on the natural environments. No, I actually don't believe that Conservative voters do have the best interests of. When you phrase of something like our country, all right, I'm going to take sides. I'm going to take fucking sides. I don't have the best interests of rangeland cattlemen at heart. I want the harmful industries for biodiversity and wildlife to be phased out. I don't want them stopped. I don't want people's livelihoods destroyed. I don't want families thrown into poverty. But I want us to start having the conversations where we move towards it. Now, I am sure that somebody whose business is live beef exports, or that is based around increasing the amount of red meat that the country consumes, or the increasing amount of chicken consumption, I'm sure those people think they have the best interests of the country at heart. Let's have that debate. I don't share their interests. I am firmly sitting over here. So she kind of missed the point about the tweet, and people often do. I mean, somebody thought I was having a dig at them today because I said something about compulsory voting, because I always hear Americans tell me how oppressed we are because we're forced to vote. Well, I think it's great. Being forced to vote means that the 8% who vote for extreme fuck knuckles that are presented at every election get the representation that 8% deserves, which is fuck all. I'm happy with that. I'm happy that there's no trumpet of fuckwits in the. And sorry for the swearing, but that's just me. If you don't like it, tough. So there's none of the yellow wankers in the parliament. Pauline Hanson's daughter didn't get elected. I'm really happy about that. I'm happy that we're a centre left, that occasionally centre right country. I'm happy about that. I wish we were further left, but we're not, because people who are interested in buying their first home or their first or second investment property, they don't give a fuck about what I think at the moment about the Swift Parrot or Gilbert's Whistler or the Magean Skate, or, well, basically koalas, really, as long as they can pat one at Australia Zoo. That's just the facts. And this is the conundrum that I think we face now. We have a Labor government now in a very strong position. They're probably going to win the next election. they're probably going to win the next election. It's a pretty massive, massive hurdle for the Lib Nats to seize power next time. I mean, it's massive. So, can we encourage the Labor Party to move away from digging things up, selling things off? That's the challenge, especially with the sort of reduction in where the representation of Greens in the lower house that it certainly looks like. We'll have to see how the Senate washes out. Let's have a look. Have I got any Senate results? I don't want the House of Reps. Let's see if I can get a Senate. Anything in the Senate. Let's have a look. What am I interested in today? I'm interested in the Senate. Bear with me while I have a squiz. Your comments, please. Let us know what we've got. It looks like there's nothing. Oh, here we go. Senate. Results by state. Let's have a look. Let's have a look what's in the wash up. Okay. Okay. You can see that. Let's have a look. So quotas. 2.6 quotas for Labor so far. 1.8. So there were 3. There'd be 5. The Greens almost 1 quota. One Nation 0.4. Jackie Lambie's on 0.06. Okay. No, we're not going to get any sensible results for the Senate, I think, for a couple of days. So out of 12, that would be 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'd be looking for preferences. So New South Wales. National results. Oh, no, Senate. I want... Okay, I'm going to leave the Senate alone. I'm actually going to leave all those results alone, and we're going to come back to just to me. Okay. I'll just keep having a look at what's going on the socials as well. All right. So I really want your input. That's why the whole point of doing a live stream is to have some input from you. The wash up is, if you haven't been watching any of the comment shows, Insiders, the Sunday Shot. The Sunday Shot was very good today, with Michael West and Cheryl Curnow on, and I thought Cheryl Curnow said some very smart things. Michael West drew attention to the fact that there was heaps and heaps of dark money aimed at discrediting the Greens, and I think that was very, very effective. So dark money is a big issue for our elections going forward. Now, the next elections are going to be governed under a different election financing model. And we really probably need to talk about that in depth a bit more. But when you've got a government that's emboldened by the results, and Jim Chalmers today on Insiders was saying they are going to do what they said that they will do at the election. Okay, I'm happy about that. But remember all the things they didn't say. They didn't say hardly a thing about biodiversity. They have a policy in place for the EPA, preserve 30% of the habitat on the land mass of Australia. Tanya Plibersek has said no more extinctions, but we're already looking at certainly in birds that are maybe functionally extinct. So there's a whole lot of discussions we need to have about what these things actually mean. What do you think? How do individuals now, in between the election cycles, what do you think the best way for you and for me and all the people we know, and all of the people we know with platforms who are popular on social media, who care about wildlife? You know, the Hemsworths? Should they be wasting their time, in my view, wasting their time and energy reanimating the thylacine? Or should we just stop cutting down forests in Tasmania? Should we stop decimating the wet sclerophyll and dry sclerophyll forests that we still have left in Victoria and New South Wales? Can we ensure that koalas do not go extinct in New South Wales? Practical questions. So, throwing it open to you. I'm going to be squawking about this as much as I can, with as many people as I can, live streaming, producing podcasts, being a pain in the ass on social media as much as I can. And I can tell you, I get far more reach and impact when I'm rude, when I'm not nice, when I'm not polite. And I think the time for being polite to politicians who don't get the message, not only politicians, I want to name and shame the people who clear land without a permit and who divert water resources for purposes that they do not have the appropriate license or quota for it. The situation that was publicised, I think, about a fortnight ago, where there was land clearing in Queensland, and the farmer was very happy about it. But all the media kept talking about the company. I don't want to know who the company is. I don't want to have to pay the $70 or $120 to do the company search. I want the media to tell me who the directors of the company are. I want to know who the bloke who drove the bulldozer, or the two people, if they did it with chains, but I think in this instance it was one person. I want to know who that person is. If it's important enough for me to know on the news every night the name of a driver who had a crash and ran away from the crash where nobody died, if it's important enough for me to know that, it's important enough for me to know who is the asshole actively destroying habitat. It might be for the golden-shouldered parrot, might be for the hooded parrot, it might be for the Gouldian finch, it might be for koalas, it might be for honey possums in Western Australia. You know, we let people get off I don't know about you, but the things that I've done wrong in the past, I didn't get to walk away from them. I remember when I stole. I must have been about 7 or 8, and my dad marched me back down to the shop for taking, I don't know, 2 pieces of bubble gum, I think, or a sherbet, I think. Grovelling apology, shamed publicly. You don't forget those kind of things. But if you have to go and spend your own money to do a company search to determine who and where the environmental crime happened, we get to name and shame protesters who put their lives and their liberty at stake to protect forests. Shouldn't the same privilege be afforded to the people who work against that? Anyway, I might be a little bit off what you expected to get today. I want your input. That's the whole reason of doing the live stream. Otherwise, I could just record a YouTube video and sit here and say what I think. But I'll do that anyway at a later date. So, Tingus a friendly fish, DJ. Give us your thoughts, Gregory. If you're in the chat, or Jeremy, I can see Jeremy liked my post too. Let us know your thoughts. I veer from despair that the work I put in to promote the people and the activities that conservationists and researchers undertake to try and make a difference doesn't make an impact. But then I get all sorts of messages from people saying, it's great. Aussie Welder. How are you, Aussie Welder? Where are you welding from, Aussie Welder? First time, I'm guessing, that you're into a bird emergency live stream. I haven't seen you before. Got any thoughts you'd like to share about the election results? What's your priority when it comes to conservation, biodiversity? What do you want the government to focus on now that they're in a very strong position? And unless there are massive scandals, I think we're certainly looking at another term after this one. We'll see what the Senate looks like. But what's your thoughts? Oh, by the way, Aussie Welder, if you meet Loz is my Loz is the rainbow lorikeet who chose to live here of its own volition. I assume Loz is a boy, but I don't really know. Aussie Welders in Perth. Okay, the home of the fantabulous red-capped parrot and the Western Corella. So, Aussie Welder, what do you want to see the government doing? Is biodiversity preservation, habitat preservation a big priority for you? Or are you more interested in collecting a couple of investment properties, maybe welding a nice circular staircase in it and flipping it for an obscene profit and a highly advantageous capital gains situation? Just be interested in your thoughts. I don't mean to be really insulting about this, but these are the things that get discussed in the media, and we never seem to talk about biodiversity. Yeah, let's see. Where's everyone to? Oh, good. You're all on. I've scared all the Facebooks away. Probably because I said too many swear words, and everyone on Facebook is like either 100 or overseas, and they don't They don't understand our proclivity or my proclivity for vulgarity and directness. Um, so Loz is very very active. So yeah, I, I want to know what you think. What you think the government should do? Should Tanya Plibersek remain Environment Minister? It's pretty well known. I think they mentioned it today. I can't remember if it was on the shot or whether it was on the Sunday shot, which today was amazing. It was great. Good. Okay, I'm going to pop this up in a minute. I've just finished my thought. The Sunday shot was really great. David Milburn had some good points. Cheryl Curnow, her closing thoughts were really good, and Michael West had some really good insights about the dark money in the elections and the danger that we're facing for that. Yeah. Me too. Two-finger typist. I appreciate your input. Tell us, is that a dog in your profile picture? It's a bit small for me to tell. Looks cute. Looks cute. Okay, Aussie Welder. I would like to see a big push to EVs affordability, and yep, the capital gains and negative gearing needs to be addressed. Yep. So I fully agree with you there. I think we're moving the right way with EVs. I think there are a whole heap of issues that that government needs to deal with. I think BYD. It looks like BYD have made a leap forward in the kind of battery technology that will be available. So that's good. Sorry, there's going to be plosives and breathiness because Loz took my windscreen and I don't know. I can't see it. I don't know where he put it. He loves playing with it. So we'll have to bear with that today. Hello, Chief. Chief the dog. Chief looks like he might be a bully. So, Ripper. Yeah, so let's go back to this. The government say they're going to limit the purchase of existing homes by overseas residents. I'm all in favour of that. But I think that's only a stopgap for the housing crisis. I've had quite a spirited discussion this morning with people who think I'm a dickhead because I don't accept that we stop migration. They use the term mass migration. I think the terminology is stupid unless you attach targets and categories to migration. We can't stop migration. We need doctors. We need nurses. We need tradesmen. We need chefs. We don't have enough. We just don't have enough. So migration is not going to stop, but we need to think about the way we do migration, and then we need to think about the way we house migrants, where we house them. So there is keep ramping up renewables to the max, yeah, and I'll leave that up. Now there's conflict with renewables, right? There's going to be land use changes. Wind turbines do kill some birds. It's impossible for them not to. But guess what? More birds are killed by cats. More birds are killed by your own cats. what's Di saying about? Di Pitten's just mentioned something here. Let me just on the Twitter. Sorry, folks. I'm not sure I understand what Di means. I'll get back to that. So we're going to lose some habitat with transmission lines. What we could do is, before the transmission lines are built, we could set aside land to increase existing habitat, the boundaries of existing habitat, to compensate for the habitat we lose in this new development. We could start linking remnant habitat areas to each other to improve the likelihood of survival of isolated populations, of whatever they might be, of populations that are mobile. Plants aren't mobile, so there's another set of issues that need to be looked at. Aquatic animals and plants and crustaceans, they're also limited in mobility. So we really need to start having these conversations. Scientists, researchers, conservationists are having these conversations with each other, and probably having detailed conversations with government. But these conversations need to be had with the wider community, because governments need the social license with an informed electorate and an informed community to take hard decisions that people won't like, but necessary decisions. We need to tease out the conversation about climate action. We need to separate. Climate action does not mean biodiversity preservation. Climate action does not mean conservation. And we need to make sure that we educate and encourage communities to be able to take action in different directions, I think. What do you think? What do you think? I want to know what you think. Just seeing Di Pearton, who I usually appreciate their feedback on the Twitter. Both major parties use immigrants to grow the economy and then don't provide extra services needed, especially in lower socioeconomic areas. I feel like we need a sustainable population model. Now, that's exactly the conversation we need to have. Phrases like big Australia or small Australia, they're as nonsensible as fuck off, we're full, in my view. I did a podcast for years, and I'm about to restart it with a slightly different slant, called Migrating to Australia podcast. You can go and find that and listen to it. These conversations are nuanced. And I don't think we're having nuanced conversations. Aussie Welder, I agree. We need more open forums to hear what's needed and what we can and will do. A lot of people advance to me the idea that degrowth is the answer. Now, I interviewed someone about degrowth, and we had a really interesting conversation. How do we degrow Australia? If our economy doesn't grow, right, the government gets thrown out. Who do you want? Do you want the Libs and the Nats? If you're concerned about conservation and biodiversity, who do you want to be the government? If we degrow without the acceptance and the ownership of the electorate at large, it can't happen. How do we degrow? Who do we tell that they can't have kids? if we're trying to reduce the fertility. Someone said to me, it's about fertility. Okay, who can't have kids? Why should we offer IVF? Right? Why should we? Why should we offer any in vitro surgery if our aim is to reduce fertility? These are the ethical issues that we need to talk about if we're fucking serious about these issues. I don't know what the answers are. I don't know what the ethical answers are. I do. We all know what the problems are, right? I remember having the conversation with the degrowth guy, Myron. Myron, his name was. You can go back and listen to it in the Bird Emergency. And I think I asked him, like, who, the same question: who do we tell they can't have kids, or who do we decide to fucking kill? I mean, right? I think that's the solution, isn't it? If we want to reduce the fertility, we are taking an active decision that some people can't have children, or maybe we just cull women. Anyone watch The Handmaid's Tale? I mean, you know, I'm not advocating these positions, but you can't get there by magic. You can't get there by saying slogans. And I get so frustrated with people who, they might have their heart in the right place. I'm sure they do. But to make a change across the society needs to be prepared to go there. And I don't know. I don't have kids. If you have kids, do you want to tell your sons or daughters that, oh, sorry, we did a lottery. Remember the Vietnam lottery? Well, we've done one about having kids. Sorry, Crystal. Sorry, Jonathan. You've got the no fucking kids for you lottery. You drew number 7. No fucking kids for you. Because that's where, I don't know. I'm not saying that's where we should go. I'm just saying we need to have these conversations. Aussie Welder, you have kicked a goal here. They reduced our fertility through our wallets, and it costs too much having kids nowadays. Yes, but we're still having too many kids. And look at what's happened in America. The largest source of foreign aid for the whole world, USAID, gutted by the Trump administration. It's going to do two things. It's going to increase fertility around the rest of the world. As climate changes and areas of the world get drier, as water becomes less available for people, there is going to be mass migration. Now, we can say we don't want them to arrive here and all that, but they're going to. So here's the question. Do we lock them up, or do we sink their ships, their boats on the way here? Or do we embrace them, and do we change the way we do things? Or do we invest in helping them remain in their own homelands? These are fucking hard decisions, but they're decisions we're going to have. How do we? Yeah, this is hard. This is really, 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 really hard, and we're not having these conversations. But I'll keep raising them. I'm not pretending for a second that I've got the answers. Not for a second. I'd like to hear what some of the possible answers are, rather than stop the boats. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. We can stop the boats, and then all the people who are fleeing America will just arrive here on planes, and then we've got the exact same issue. But the only difference is that someone who arrives here from Boston or New York or LA and says, I'm a refugee, I'm being persecuted by Donald Trump. Guess how much shit they're going to consume compared to someone who arrives here from Afghanistan? A fuck ton more. And guess who's got a lot more money to consume a fuck ton more? We've got to have these conversations, and it's going to happen. We're going to be met with countless plane loads of people who are fleeing America. All right, Aussie Welder, I really appreciate you getting into the spirit today and making your comments. It will drive up immigration as these people must move. Yeah, we must. They will move. If you were starving, what happens if your job disappears and the only job for your qualifications, if the only welders in the world are in Somerset in the UK, you're going to fucking go to Somerset, or you're going to retrain and do something else which you might not like. So yeah, we must embrace them and stop being so afraid of different people. Exactly. Aussie Welder says, I would not stop a boat of desperate people, so I will never expect anyone else to do it. Good point. I agree with you. But I'm not against encouraging people not to move. Because funnily enough, I mean, I was watching some YouTube stuff from some American commentators, just YouTubers, but people who are political commentators from the States, and from Canada. And they're looking at Australia and look how empty it is. They could have so much more people. We don't have any fucking water for more people. We're probably well above our carrying capacity now. But our population is not going to reduce quickly unless there's a catastrophe. Have a listen to the conversation I had with Lyle Lewis, one of the most recent live streams on the Bird Emergency Channel. He reckons where humans will disappear within 50 years. That might happen. I don't know. Somebody did make mention on my socials that nature has a way of rebalancing. Yeah, it does. So the decision might be made for us. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not wishing that on anyone, but I just think that it might be happening. I think we should be very wise and start to move towards a situation where we don't have to countenance that. Aussie Welder. I really wish I had an idea how we achieve these things, but I'm sure together we can all come up with a plan. Yeah. I mean, there are going to be some kind of technological advances that might make things less bad. I mean, I don't know what the solutions are, but I can tell you that if we all stopped romanticizing the idea that a good night out or a good social event is a barbie with a shit ton of steak, we'd make a bit of a difference here in Australia. Eating beef and producing beef in the semi-arid rangelands of Australia is fucking insane. And scientists all know that. We fucking know it. But it's hard to tell people who like growing cattle that it's a fucking bad idea. But guess what? No one asked anyone in a factory. No one asked the people from Holden and Toyota and Nissan where, no one thought, oh, well, we won't close down the motor industry in Australia because all those people in Springvale and Clayton don't like it, right? People with privilege and agriculturalists are people with privilege because they vote Conservative. And more often than not, we have those people forming our government. Have a look at the percentage of votes the National Party get nationwide. I'll give you a hint. It's about twice the amount that Pauline Hanson gets. If you add Pauline Hanson, Family First, Trumpet of Patriot fuckwits together, you get the National Party, right? They have an oversized influence on how government is done here and what we do here. The name escapes me. When I had the interview with, what's his name? Sorry, I don't mean to be blanking. From Alice Springs, about the agricultural sector in the Northern Territory. It's fucking minuscule in terms of the overall economic activity. Fucking minuscule. Arts and tourism is bigger. The health sector is bigger. But you wouldn't know that. You would not know that from consuming media and the fucking folklore we tell ourselves about the farmers and agriculture. Right? We could do away with agriculture in the Northern Territory for very, very little damage. And there might be, I don't know, 600 people who have to find somewhere else to live, or they might have to start being custodians of the land. Like apparently they already are. Fucking bullshit. Right. Sorry, I'm very sweary today. Probably because I don't have a guest. When I have a guest, I tend to rein myself in a bit more. But we have so much fucking mythology in this country. Fucking mountain cattlemen, fucking rodeos, fucking man from Snowy River. Fuck, bullshit, fuck. I sometimes talk about the amount of resources that we put into towns like Benambra in the high country. I think it's in the electorate of Gippsland. No one wonders why we should spend the money on building a primary school for a logging town with 30 people in it, or make sure we've got bitumen roads to an outpost of 10 people when they're important people like forest workers. But we're all going to bitch and moan about doing it to a settlement with 300 people who happen to be Indigenous on the edge of the Pilbara or the Kimberley or the Tanami. So we got a lot of inherent racism and some blind spots about how we spend our money. And I'm not saying we shouldn't build those roads and those services. But Gina Rinehart lives in fucking Singapore now. And she's only a fucking billionaire because her dad got lucky and the way we treat mining. Have a look at the West Report from a few weeks ago, Scam of the Week, about how little in royalties are paid by multinational miners, how little income tax those people or those entities pay, and compare it to how much comes out of your PAYE or your provisional tax if you're self-employed. Have a look at the percentages and see whether you reckon we could afford it if we had a crack at some of these fucking oligarchs. Okay. Aussie Welder says again, not a week goes by I do not hear we must resume cruelly exporting live animals over here. I hate the idea. Actually, I'm going to look that up. Let's have a look at the economics of. So there's live cattle and there's live sheep. So let me have a look at economic value of live cattle exports. Okay. Employed 6,573 people in 2021 and 1.4 billion, with a large portion of that employment in Australian in Northern Australia. Now let me have a look at of okay. Now what did I say? Did I say 1.4 billion? Correct me. I just put in economic value of nature tourism Australia. Nature-based tourism in Australia contributes significantly to the economy, with an estimated annual economic impact of $23 billion. Tourism Research Australia estimates that nature tourism could be responsible for injecting an expenditure of over $30 billion annually into our economy. Okay. Now, I've just looked that up, and I don't think that was too hard. I reckon any minister could do that. What do you reckon we should move towards? Increasing or maintaining nature-based tourism, or more fucking cows going to Indonesia or India for slaughter? I know what common sense tells me. Hi, Cherry Owl. Nice to see you. I haven't seen you before. That's a good one. Here we go. They're good. Aussie Welder. That's not a great deal compared to WA's tourism. That's right. I did beat you to it as I was typing it in. I didn't realise the difference was so stark. I was right, wasn't it? It was 1.4 billion compared to 30 billion. Okay. If I was to say to you, actually, let's say, have you got kids, Aussie Welder? You can just give me a thumbs up or something if you do. But I'm guessing if you do have kids, I'm guessing I could say to any kid, in this hand, I have 30 Jaffas. And in this hand, I have 1.5 Jaffas. Which one would you like to have? Choose a hand. What's the fucking answer? I mean, fair income, if you're watching from overseas, I say fair income when I want to emphasize a point. I want to put the emphasis on the correct syllable. All right. I don't want you. I don't want you making any comments there. So, I mean, the answers present themselves if we just have a look at the. I'm going to. I'm going to go to live sheep exports. Now here we go. This might shock you. The economic value of Australia's live sheep exports, while significant, bookmark that term, has been declining. In 2021-22, the trade was worth 85.2 million. Okay. I'm going to put another one in here and we'll just see. I'll see what the AI makes up for this. I'm not getting a dollar value here. I'll just see if ChatGPT can give me an answer. Okay. There hasn't obviously been an economic. I just asked Google and ChatGPT what was the value of AFL Auskick. I was hoping that we could get an idea of what Junior Sport might be worth, because I reckon it's going to be a shit ton more than the live sheep export. So has that illustrated my point that there is let's walk through it. I think biodiversity preservation and conservation is really, really, really important. Let's take that as given. To do that, we need to reduce the damage that we are doing to our environment in ways that can be easily achieved for the least harm to the rest of the community. Can we say that is fair? So we could eradicate the live sheep export and the live cattle trade and concentrate on nature tourism for a minimal effect on the economy overall. We could boost tourism into lands that are currently off limits for tourism because they are undertaking agricultural production. We could get healthier by eating less red meat. We could preserve water resources for communities and for the environment by reducing that type of agricultural activity. We could move towards phasing it out. Let's have a 100-year plan to phase out red meat production in Australia. Radical, I know, but possible, beneficial. We don't have to upend anyone's life like you do when you get sacked when your factory closes down, or when they widen a road and the newsagent that you've been working in for 20 years is about to no longer exist. Those people are no less fucking special to me than someone wearing an Akubra driving around on a quad bike shoeing cows. And believe me, I know lots of these people. I lived in the regions. I grew up in the country. I know all about primary producers tax breaks. I got the fucking master tax guide over here telling me how to use it. But I think we've moved to the point where we need to be better about this stuff. So now the federal government, let's get back to elections. The federal government now has a strengthened position. They probably have 6 years to actually make a difference, to put things in place, compensate people who need to be eased out of industries that we need to reduce. Fuck AUKUS off. Spend that 180 billion on something that benefits you and me and Loz and all Loz's bloody relatives out there flying around in the flowering eucalypts. Am I being crazy? Okay, let's see. Oh, the bird is awesome. Thanks for that. All right, here. Sorry, I missed a whole lot of the comments. Teach our farmers to change the stock they run to tourists. Yeah, or things that are less harmful. Right? We're still going to need protein. And uh, I'm meat free, right? I'm a big tofu, lentil, chickpea eater. Basically, have been since I uh, had cancer. That's a whole different story. Anyway, I don't want to get bogged down in that. But it's easy to change. It's easy to change. I don't miss it. I don't miss it. I eat good stuff. I'm still a fat bastard. Jesus. Uh, we we can tread lightly on the planet and not live a life of deprivation. It's not hard. Uh, Aussie Welder, again, we have a great resource of First Nation people to teach us the best ways to restore our landscape. Absolutely. Here we go. We're talking about primary production again. Farmers do great on tax breaks. It is unreal. Um, I must say, Elbow looks like he's ready to have a go. I just hope I'm not deluded. Not Delulu. I watched Jim Chalmers today on Insiders, and he said they're not going to do things they haven't already told the electorate that they're going to do. So I'm not quite so confident. But they have the opportunity, and they, even if they don't do it in this term, they have the opportunity to begin the discussion so that they can do it in the term after. And hopefully we can get the Greens and the Teals. I have a real worry about the Teals, though. Climate 200 is fantastic. We're moving towards a big change in climate change. But nearly all of those Teals are disaffected Liberals. They are not natural allies of the left. So please, nobody take too much comfort from the fact that we have a lot of Teals in the parliament. Now, they're not going to have the balance of power. We don't know what's happening in the Senate, so that, all of my statements are couched in the fact that we do not know what influence different portions of the Senate may have. But we have the opportunity to start having that conversation. And we could be world leaders in this. We have the most difficult continent, perhaps apart from sub-Saharan Africa, parts of the Indian subcontinent, to maintain populations. Good. I'm glad you're a soy boy boiler maker. That's it. That's it. It's not over for me. I visit my Fed members' office, being sure what is important to me is heard often. Fabulous. Now, are you in an area like me where it's very solidly Labor? So there isn't a lot of influence you can have in the same way that you can in a marginal seat. So I'd be interested to know if you're in a marginal. But I like to talk to as many normies, as I call them, as possible, and just talk about my issues without being a prick. I reserve being a prick for here because I'm allowed to be a prick, and you're allowed to fuck off if you don't like it. Sorry for sweary. Remember when Mikey Robbins had that character when he was on Triple J with Helen Razor? Keith the sweary Monrovian bear. I often feel like I am channeling that character. Bert. Okay, I don't know. I don't know where Bert is. Is Bert north or south Perth? Give me a lesson without me looking it up. That would be good. Tell us all about it without looking it up. I I'm always conscious that Western Australia is a very different place. I mean, Basil Zemplis, for instance, Gina Reinhart, for instance, Kerry and Ryan Stokes, for instance. A very different outlook about certainly far less progressive in most instances than Victoria. Victoria is a very, very progressive state, and I think the fact that even even with apparently Labor is on the nose in Victoria, but they still got nearly a 0.8% swing towards them. So that was interesting. Oh, okay, Armidale. Okay, I know where Armidale is. Cool. Thank you for that. So who's your local member in Burt? Please tell me it's not. I know Senator Cash is a senator, obviously. Yeah, who's your local member? Be interested to know. You having a good time, Loz? Loz likes red. Red and yellow are the colours that Loz is drawn to. So on my browser on the screen, there's a red and a yellow button, and Loz is trying to feed on those. He's also likes my hat. I'm not going to turn the camera around, but in my room, I do this in my bedroom. All right, over there is my wardrobe. Over there is the corner of the door. Behind me, on my bedroom wall, above my bed, is a green screen. It's actually really cheap apple green fabric I got from Spotlight many years ago. But against this bookshelf, a secondhand bookshelf from the hard rubbish, I buy everything secondhand or reused or scavenge. That's my personal commitment to treading lightly. If I can get something secondhand instead of new, I do. If I don't need it, and I mean need, I don't get it. But I have here a bough from a large eucalypt, and it goes from floor to ceiling, or about 2 inches short of ceiling, that fell down in a storm from the park across the road. And I've cut it down and I brought it in here, and Loz can fly on the screens, onto my mic, onto that screen, because I've got a bunch of screens here, or he can go and sit in the tree up here and just do what he likes. So, yeah, that's it. Okay. Only been here 2 years from Sydney. Okay. Were you a Westie in Sydney, or were you from the? Or please tell me that you decided to become a boilermaker and a welder, but that you grew up in Pymble, and or that you went to Kings, rugby captain at Kings. Matt Keogh, okay, is my member. He's a bit of a wanker, but he always puts up with my whinging and has helped my elderly mother get some help. Well, that's good to hear. Bit of a wanker in what way? I mean, frankly, you need to be a bit of a wanker to want to be in Parliament. I think. When I was a kid, year 11, year 12, I thought it would be great to be in Parliament, and then a few years later, I did some work with the CFMEU when they were trying to get representation for people in Bunnings, which in the end they didn't get. But I did a bit of organising, and I saw what goes on. I also ran a student union for a few years, president of a student union, and yeah, kind of turned me off going into machine politics. I don't think that's where my talents lie, and I don't think I've got the temperament for putting up with people who I think might be a bit of a wanker. And I'm sure they would think I'm a bit of a wanker and a bit of a prick, which doesn't really lean to collegiate outcomes. And I'm not sure that I could be. Once I was a member of the Labor Party, but I find the whole don't disagree publicly with policies that you don't agree with to be something that I couldn't really get behind. I think if something's shit, I think you've got an obligation to say it's shit and why you think it's shit, and to change it from being shit. But that's just me. hence I'm not a member of the Labor Party. I'm broadly a supporter of the Labor Party. I'm far more a natural supporter of the Greens, but I voted Victorian Socialist number one in my electorate around here. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the final results and seeing if the Victorian Socialists, who are quite active, certainly in putting out their material and signage and whatnot in my electorate, to see whether they've increased their votes in see what happens. Okay. He seems empty, does not really give feedback. I always leave me feeling I have only vented, not got any answers, but that may be a me issue. One thing I do know when dealing with parliamentarians and their officers is saying something is one thing, writing it to them in an email or an actual letter may get slightly different replies, especially if they acknowledge it and then you follow up and say, please tell me, exactly your stance, or what can you do, or what will you help me with. They have obligations to respond to correspondence, and it's a lot harder to be held to account for a verbal conversation. Anyway, I don't want to tell you how to suck eggs, but that's just my experience dealing with both state and federal parliament officers and whatnot. Okay, well, we've had a fairly interesting, good conversation. Now let's go open slather. I want to know what people are hopeful for, and I want to know, because there's quite a few of you here. Am I on the wrong track? Am I being too aggressive? Am I? Do I want too much? I can tell you what I want. I want fucking everything, and I want everything tomorrow, right? That's what I want. I know I'm not going to get it, but that's what I want. Villawood, a Westie. Now I'm not sure. You look like you might be a good deal younger than me, but if I said the trilobites to you, would you know what I'm talking about? Interested to know. Yeah. Am I asking for too much? Am I being unreasonable in what I would like government to achieve at the moment? Oh, here we go. Okay, so we're okay. Well, I'm 59, so yeah, you could know the trilobites or the psychotic turnbuckles. Just depends what you were listening to, whether you were listening to Triple J or what was it up there? SER. SER. Okay, good. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, good. Very, very happy to know. Okay, let's redirect the conversation for a little bit. Am I asking for too much? Am I being unreasonable? Couple of questions. Do you have confidence that the government, however it shakes out in the Senate, will move towards making biodiversity a priority, bearing in mind that it was the first thing they jettisoned when things got hard in the last term? Oh, wait. I've been really critical of Tanya Plibersek, but I've got nothing against Tanya Plibersek. In fact, I thought what she started out last term saying was fantastic, but then it turned very disappointing very quickly. Okay, you have to aim high and negotiate from there. Yeah, okay, I agree. I also don't think that. I also don't think that we have to accept less than what the government stated they want. So I think we can go back to the aims that Plibersek had already stated and promoted herself. And I think we can go back there and say, you must do this. It's like saying we need to continually go back to closing the gap. We need to keep going back to making a difference, closing the gap. And if we need more resources, more resources. If we find something doesn't work, try something else. But we don't say it's too hard. We're allowed to say we didn't succeed, but I don't think we should say, oh, well, we failed. There's a different way in approaching a task, and I think that's what we should do. Jump in the comments. Now, Aussie Welder, I know it's your first time here. Let's scroll up a little bit. Who's been talking? Cherry Owl, I reckon it's your first time here. Where else? I think we went right to DJ. I reckon I might have seen DJ in here once before, in the bird emergency once before. Tingus, a friendly fish. I hadn't seen you before. So if you're all still here, let me know. How did you stumble into the bird emergency in the live stream? And were you aware of the bird emergency before I started spouting off about the election in the last couple of days? Because I haven't been having much to say in the last little while on social media. I was having a bit of a break, and I've got I was mentioning yesterday, I'm currently doing a teaching English as a second language qualification, and I'm finding it pretty hard. I've never found study hard before, but I'm finding this pretty hard. And tomorrow I have another day of practical observations. So when I would normally do a live stream on a Monday, I won't be doing that tomorrow, and I'm a little bit behind in my assignments. So I do need to put a bit more time into my study rather than getting on the mic. But I can tell you for sure that I will not be shutting up about this kind of issues. And in May and June, I'll be lining up lots and lots of interviews with people who know a lot more stuff about conservation and biodiversity and working in the field than I do. So what was I asking? What was I saying? Yeah. So open slather. What do you want the government to concentrate on first? I believe we can walk and chew gum at the same time. So they can build houses, they can end homelessness, they can strengthen the health system, they can make education better for everyone who needs it and wants it, and at the same time they can protect the swift parrot and the rainbow lorikeets and the regent honeyeater and the 40-spotted pardalote and the long-footed potteroo. Here we go. Aussie Welder. I was browsing YouTube Live and fell into here, and really glad I did. This is the most sane chat I've had on YouTube in weeks. Okay. Thank you for saying that. Not so much about the same chat, because sometimes some people think I'm totally unhinged. I think I'm pretty reasonable. I'm very forceful about what I say and what I want. But this is why I do live streams, because people can find you and discover you. So if you have discovered me today by that kind of method, let me know, because I like the feedback about things. Or did you already know about the bird emergency because of social media? You know, my Twitter or Blue Sky or Instagram that I occasionally use. or the podcast. Did you find the podcast, the audio podcast, and pop in from there? This sort of feedback's really helpful for me to work out when I look at my whiteboard and planning ahead what to do and how to do it, and not for the audience capture kind of thing. But I don't want to be producing content that people don't want to listen to, don't want to consume. I really like live streams. It's much, I'll be honest, it's much easier to live stream and have conversations like this rather than write a script for a video and endlessly faff around about your edits and everything. And when, being honest, right, more people get involved in my gardening live stream on a Saturday morning and my political rant live streams on the Bird Emergency channel than they ever do looking at the videos later on YouTube, right? So, and the reason I do this is to have some effect. I want you, after listening to me ranting, to get interested. And if you don't know anything about the Swift Parrot, fucking look it up, right? If you don't know anything about plastics in seabirds, go and look up the episode about the Adrift Lab and then get onto Blue Sky or Twitter and look up Dr. Alex Bond and have a look at what he's been posting today. He's currently doing field work on Lord Howe Island. You know, that's part of Australia, right? Lord Howe Island. And he posted follow-up pictures today about the plastics that they're finding in the flesh-footed shearwater on Lord Howe Island when they go there to breed. Now, I interviewed the Adrift Lab, some of the students, the leader of the lab. I've interviewed Alex Bond. It's one of the fairly recent interviews on the Bird Emergency. I got a bit excited and I've knocked over Loz's water and his sweet food and some water. So yeah, fuck that up a bit. Yeah. So if you're not a natural, birdie, but you're into conservation, I talk about issues as much as I talk about the specific species. But the way to attack the issues is talk about the species and what the issues are. Janice, hey, great. Haven't seen Janice for a while. Appreciate Janice. She's old school Bird Emergency contributor. What's up, Janice? Fill us in with what you have been doing and let everyone know. Let everyone know what you're up to. So that's great. I'm glad you're here, Janice. What did you think about the election? Let's talk about that. Aussie Welder. I don't know what you're laughing at, but a lot of things I say are absolute comedy gems. All right, I've got a message. Got a private message coming in on the X, on the Twitter. Let's have a look what that says. Oh no, it's part of a chat group that I'm in, not something aimed at me. Okay. Janice, while you're going to type out something that I can share on the screen for everyone about what you are up to and what you do, what were your thoughts about the election outcomes so far? What's going on, Loz? Hey? Oh, he's pretty happy this morning or this afternoon. What time are we? Geez, coming up to 3 o'clock. Coming up to 1 o'clock in the west. In the west. Yeah, I'll just wait for a few more contributions. I'm a bit talked out. very disjointed. I should have written down the points I wanted to cover on the whiteboard today, and I could have just looked over there and read them out instead of looking at all my due dates for my assignments. That would have been great. Janice, and I appreciate that you say thanks for all I do. I don't think I do very much. I hope I draw attention to stuff. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I appreciate that, Janice. Janice can't comment on the election as she has to remain politically neutral. I think you can let everyone know what your main, let's say occupational interest or whatever is. That might be good. I don't want to decide how to describe it. That's why I want you to type it out so that I can let everyone know. And perhaps you might want to let people have an idea how to find out more. Aussie Walter says, we have great bird life around here. My eyes are rooted. I can hear them, not see them. So good though. Aussie Welder, have you ever heard of Xenocanter? Xenocanter.org. Xeno-canter.org. You can hear the bird calls of most of the birds from around the world. So if you would like to be able to work out which ones are which, you can search by region or by city, by state, or by species, and someone will have recorded and uploaded all of the calls of that species. So if you want to know which one is the Western Rosella or which is the red-capped parrot, or I don't know what fairy wrens you've got over there, or which yellow robin, or which the Western golden whistler, that's a good place to start. Maybe I'll put I'll type it into here. Xenocanter.org. I've just popped that in the chat, in all the chats, so everyone can see that. There we are. There we go. Yeah, we're streaming out to 4 locations today, so that's popped in there. Give me that again, mate. I'm not very bright, but I can lift heavy things. I hope you saw that one. Yeah, awesome. Cheers, mate. Cool. Or is it Xenocanter? No, it's Xenocanter, not Xenocanto. Xenocanter. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I was never going to be able to spell that. Yeah, well, me too. I second guess myself, and I go to it frequently and use it a lot. Yeah, but great site. It's also got animals and stuff too, but I'm interested in the birds, obviously. All right, folks. So we'll start to wind down. I think we'll look to end it in about 8 or 10 minutes. This is where you have the opportunity to say whatever you would like. If you got a wish list, let's even see. I'll let you know, since a lot of you are new, at 9:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, but in summer I do it at summertime. 9:30 Australian Eastern Time every Saturday morning, I do a Q&A, habitat gardening. So if you're into gardening and you want to know how to bring animals and birds, insects, butterflies, whatever, into your garden, that's what we talk about in that time slot. And after I've got this course out of the way that I'm currently doing, I'm going to get back into Photography Friday, talking to bird and wildlife photographers and getting back on board with my plan for talking to bird and wildlife tour operators and guides, as well as all the usual researchers and conservation people, as I usually have done in the past. So yes, telling everyone that again, because so many of you today, I think, have discovered the bird emergency from new. There's I think it's about 150, maybe more. There might even be 200 episodes on YouTube. We're looking at I think there's about 80 episodes in the podcast feed. Just search the bird emergency. Look for the dodo. That's the logo. Or so the podcast is out there. Just consume some of that stuff, and I'm always interested in feedback. So yeah, tell me what you think. But what I want, what I've always wanted to achieve, is to promote and recognise the work that conservationists and researchers do. It's very difficult for them to get out into the wider community, and the issues that they are researching and dealing with are the kind of shit that we started talking about right at the start of today's live stream. And if you do consume a bit of it, you will see how frequently I get exasperated by how the same issues keep cropping up, no matter where in the world we're talking about, no matter what species we're talking about. The same issues crop up over and over and over and over again, and how often people who are doing all the work know what the solutions are. It all comes down to money, allocation of resources, and I think as we adequately determine, just in the Australian context, tourism is bird tourism, wildlife tourism, fishing tourism, whatever kind of tourism you would like to talk about in the Australian context, is more important than live cattle and sheep exports. I know from looking at what we did, it's a couple of months back now, but it's not many episodes back. I'm really sorry, Adrian Tomlinson. Adrian Tomlinson. Go and listen to the conversation I had with Adrian Tomlinson about the value of agriculture in the Northern Territory economy. We can make choices, and they should be easy choices to make. Just like nobody has a right to assemble Toyotas just because their father did and their grandfather did. Nobody's got a fucking right to keep destroying the rangelands because my family's been here for 60 years. You know how much I fucking care about that? It's none. Because there were people there for 60,000 years before your fucking family. Charlie Burgo, fantastic. Welcome back, Charlie. Hi, Grant. I'm very pleased by the election results. A bit sad the Greens lost a few seats, though. Agree. I enjoyed the show. Thank you. I recently got the Red Robin trifecta on one day. Oh, at Winton. Yeah, so you got the Flame, you got the Scarlet, and you got the Red Cap Robin. Did you get the Hooded as well? And did you get an Eastern Yellow and a Jackie Winter? That would be amazing if you did. Very sadly, also saw at least 30 to 40 kangaroos with staggers. Yeah. It was so horrible to watch them, so disoriented. Yeah. So these are the kind of conversations we need to have. I don't know, Charlie, if you've ever noticed at Aussie Welder, I know Janice has probably heard me with this. I often ask people the idea about how much is something worth. How much is a kangaroo worth? How much is a swift parrot worth? How much is a red-capped robin worth? When we talk about tourism, wildlife tourism, there's not a lot of work with that. I know, coming from horticulture, all of the bloody lemon-scented gums in urban Melbourne have been valued, and some of them are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars per stem. Think of Burke Road in Camberwell. Think of around Richmond and Burnley and Hawthorn. They're very expensive, valuable trees. Think about the elms in the city of Melbourne. We've valued them. But for an industry that is far more important than the live sheep export or the live cattle export, we know how much each one of those fucking cattle is valued at. But we don't know how much a grey grass wren is valued at. And we don't fucking care, because if we knew, we'd have to do something to preserve that value. Are we following? I'm sure Charlie's following. And well done on getting the robin trifecta. If you don't know what Charlie and I are talking about, Australia has some flycatchers that we call robins. They're not true robins in Australia. And in Victoria, there are 3 of them that have bright red in the plumage of the males: the flame robin, the scarlet robin, and the red-capped robin. We also have a pink robin and a rose robin, where the males have soft pink or bright pink plumage on their breasts. We also have yellow robins in Victoria too. But there is not enough money to be better. It's a very poor excuse. Absolutely. 60 years too long to stop fucking up the land. Yeah. I mean, I think generally we're all on the same page. I reckon if you ask a kid in grade 6 or someone in year 8 about some of these issues, they're on board. They understand it. But then they'll be conditioned over the next 10 or 15 years to be far more concerned about getting an investment property. Now, to me, I reckon we've got it all arse about. Absolutely arse about. And I might insult some of you with this statement, but I reckon if you've got more than one house, you're a bit of a prick. Right? I reckon if you've got 5 houses, you're not only a bit of a prick, you're a fucking parasite. Okay, I know you're looking after your future and your kids and all that. Don't give a fuck. And I don't give a fuck if you don't like that I don't give a fuck. Trump has cracked world trade now is a perfect time to pivot and grow assisted ecotourism boosts. Absolutely. We have an opportunity in front of us. The ALP has 6 years now. They have 3 years to start preparing us to change the way we do fringe benefit tax and the way we do capital gains tax and the way we treat housing as an investment and the way we allow people to hoard real estate. We have an opportunity. I don't think we'll take it, because I don't think enough people in our society can actually look at what they do. Oh, yes, I've got 5 investment properties. I don't think they can have a look at themselves and go, geez, I'm a bit of a prick, aren't I? Or what are the tax implications if I sell them? I don't give a fuck. You're not going to be worse off than you are now. Anyway, that's just the radical pinko lefty in me and the intolerant fucking bastard in me. And And it's not class envy. I don't want another house. I don't even want one fucking house. Right? But I understand why people with families and I understand why people need them. Everyone needs security for where they live, but nobody needs 5 houses. And nobody needs 5 houses and a beach house and a houseboat. Um, Aussie Welder, I'm glad I'm getting a bit of support here. I agree. You're a grub for using homes as an investment. Yeah. Um. Okay. I'm gonna add a bit of nuance to that statement. I don't blame people for doing it because we've all been conditioned to do it. But I think there is a time where you need to have a bit of self reflection. Actually, look at it this way: if you're a real estate agent and you don't give a fuck about the swift parrot, you don't give a fuck about the kangaroos that here, these kangaroos, where are we? That Charlie Burgo mentioned. If you don't give a fuck that there are now koalas uh, with their offspring on their backs, walking around in suburban settings and car parks, looking for something to eat and something to drink. If you don't give a fuck about that, okay, you're probably a property developer or a real estate speculator or someone who's flipping houses or you've never thought about it. Okay, I want you to think about it. If you don't want to think about it because it makes you feel bad, well, get fucked. You're a bit of a prick. Or, as Aussie Welder says, uh, you're a grub. Um, yeah. I'm a bit of a prick for being a bit of a prick, probably. You're welcome to hold that view, but that is my view. Everyone needs one home, whether they rent it or they own it. In this country, everybody needs somewhere secure to live. That's a basic human right the world over. But if you're one of these pricks that's got a portfolio of 50 rental properties, you're a bit of a prick. In fact, you're a massive prick. You're a massive prick. Just like all the pricks at the CEO sleep out. Those pricks could solve homelessness tomorrow. That dickhead Adrian Portelli giving people $20 of Coles vouchers, and he met the homeless guy. I don't know if any of you saw that PR stunt for that fuckwit. He could have bought the bloke a house. He could have kept the house for himself, and for the cost of lifting his fucking sports car into his fucking penthouse, he could have given that bloke somewhere to live for 5 years and give the guy a chance to get on his own 2 feet and independent. That's what I mean by being a bit of a prick and having your values a bit arse about. Anyway, he's my favourite bloke to attention-seeking fucking prat, in my view. Here we are. They know how it's affecting people's lives now, but they just want to have more, not need more. Yeah, they're selfish pricks, in my view. And you probably know some. You've probably got some in your family. I certainly had them in my family. they all they all fucking hate me now because I'm a fucking radical. But I sleep fine at night. I don't have any conflict when I'm chopping up me tofu and making my uh, split pea dal or my brown lentil curry. Uh, I did not. Thankfully, that is just fucked. I don't remember what that was exactly in relation to, but yeah, I think in here we're all on the same page, but I don't think that we're all preaching to the converted in here. HRB Trip 6, yes, YIMBYism needs to go global. Yeah. Now, but let's not be idiotic about YIMBYism. It doesn't mean any development and anything that comes across the desk of the town planner or the economic development ministry is good or appropriate. But we need to have the conversation. I don't know why every second family home in my street is being knocked down and turned into 2 or 3 townhouses. Now, in general, I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem that every stick of vegetation, every mature tree gets taken out. I have a problem with that, but that's a separate issue. But I do have a problem that it's not happening in Hawthorne, South Yarra, Kew, Malvern, Vermont, Surrey Hills, Canterbury, Balwyn. I do have a problem that we are not increasing easily the density of housing for the rich and privileged as we are over here. And we don't have the same level of services over here. But life's pretty good around here, apart from the needles and the meth and the poor old psychiatrically damaged stumbling around the streets. But life's pretty comfortable out here in the home of the Wurundjeri people. Stolen land, but yeah, life's pretty good for someone like me over here. I'd like life to be really good for everyone and more people to live in the land that is already suburbs so that we don't have to keep pushing beyond Melton and Craigieburn and Lara, and that Geelong doesn't spread to Apollo Bay. I don't reckon that's unreasonable, but maybe I am just a bit of a prick. Aussie Welder being disowned by those pricks, yeah. So, look, I use colourful language, but I'm sure you get it. I'm sure you all get it. Here we go. There is 9 huge vacant homes I walk my dog past every day, and in 2 years, they have not even had a door opened, just investment sitting empty. Yeah, now here's something the government could do right now. You could impose any property that sits idle that you are not getting rental income from for 12 months, you could pay a 50% valuation penalty for leaving it empty. I'd be in for that. That would stop people warehousing 15 properties. And guess what? I don't give a fuck if you have to sell it. If you've got 3 homes and you have to sell one, 3 houses or 5 apartments, I don't give a fuck if you've got to sell 3 of them to pay something the government says you have to share the resources around a bit more. Hate me? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a damn, frankly, my dear. Okay. I know a few grubs with multiple residences. They're very frustrating to talk to. I don't even try. I just usually say, you're a bit of a greedy cunt, aren't you? That's the worst word, but I think they earn it. They make excuses as to why they're having 4 properties is good. I'm unsure with some of them. If the property was sold, it may get subdivided and the trees that are on the land will be removed. These properties are not in the city. Charlie, if they thought there was $1 in it, those trees would disappear, right? They're not protecting the trees because what they could do, they could put some kind of covenant on them so that if they ever sold the property, those trees couldn't be felled, but they never will do that. And I bet you they're not planting more trees because that makes it more harder to sell later on, right? Here we go. Yeah, this is what I've been squawking like a moron and told I was being unreasonable. No, you're not being unreasonable. You're being logical. They're being greedy. Charlie says, I think Victoria is bringing in taxes on vacant land and vacant properties. I think it's been floated. I have a different thought about vacant land and vacant property depending on where it is. Right? Vacant land, I don't want people taxed for leaving land vacant if it's on the fringes of the city. If it's grassland that the plains wanderer rely on, or if it's grazing land for the 30 kangaroos that you just saw. I don't have a problem with that land being vacant. I do have a problem with one house being on 2.5 hectares in Hawthorn. I've got a problem with that. So, I know some people who live in some very exclusive streets in Hawthorn with a couple of tennis courts and a pool and a gym and a beautiful patio and blah, 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 blah. No, I want some townhouses on that. I want somewhere for people to live that doesn't mean that we have to keep extending the outskirts of Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane or Goulburn or Shepparton or whatever. All of the habitat we have now is extremely precious, but we don't value it the same way that we don't value a kangaroo and a koala or a platypus or a Queensland lungfish, you know. So, I want something radical, but I don't think all that these things can't be done. And I think we just need a bit of attitude adjustment. I remember that was something one of my teachers at secondary school used to tell us quite frequently as a class. You all need a bit of an attitude adjustment. Yeah, well, I think our society needs a bit of an attitude adjustment. I think the way that we allocate and organise resources in, particularly when it comes to housing and investment, is a bit arse about. Charlie says, I've tried to get them to add a covenant. One of them has actually added trees. Well, that's good, and is seriously considering covenanting land at Bateman's Bay. It's 10 hectares all around is being subdivided at a frightening rate. Yeah, well, that's great. If they do that, I will be very happy to congratulate them. See, this is where the problem is. So people, we make land and property our primary driver of wealth. So 10 hectares, they might decide that they can have a very comfortable retirement by developing 3 hectares and keeping 7. Okay. I don't think we've got enough land at places like Bateman's Bay or anywhere to be making those choices, to be making that the logical and the first choice. Now, I understand there's the whole thing about freedom and it's mine and you're telling me what to do and blah, blah, blah. I know that it's deeply ingrained. Private property rights, opportunity, my wealth is in my property. I need to provide for my kids. I know all of it. I used to be a fucking tax agent. I know all this shit. I just no longer subscribe to it. Hello, Loz. And as I've said before, I think if you do subscribe to it, I think nowadays we're entitled to say you're a bit of a prick and don't tell me that you give a shit about conservation and you care about the birds. Anyway, and I know I'm being deliberately provocative and a bit of an asshole, but these are I do it so that people think about it. And I am a bit of an arsehole. Even Loz says so. Sometimes even though Loz says, "Hello, Loz. Hello, mate." So even though he tells me he loves me, "Hello, mate." See, Loz loves me, but he knows I'm a bit of an arsehole. So yeah. Now I've got a green screen, so you can't see when Loz is dancing because he's got his back towards the camera, and his back is green. You can see his blue head, but he's just doing his dance, his display. Good on you, Loz. Yeah. Yeah. Good on you, mate. Hello, thank you very much. I love you too. Even though you're a mischievous little bastard. And lorikeet shit is wet. Easy to clean up, but it's wet and there's a lot of it. And it's all over the front of my desk at the moment and on my daggy tracksuit pants. One of the joys of sharing a house with a lorikeet. But I wouldn't swap you. I wouldn't swap you again, Loz. I might even get you a friend. Yeah, thanks, mate. Okay, anyone else want to chuck in? Or we've got a comment here. That must be what people say about me. I am much like yourself. Well, good, fellow traveller. I'm glad there's at least one of you in Perth. There's at least one of us in Melbourne. I mean, I don't deliberately in social settings go out to upset people, but I don't mind asking a difficult question. I especially love people hearing people talk about their commitments to human rights and the fair go and how Aussies are all about fairness and equality. And then I find out some prick's got 5 houses and 5 cars. And they're really, really concerned about climate change, but they've just come back from a holiday in Noumea. Get fucked. That's bullshit. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to everyone else. But you tell yourself the story, and you believe that you are better off than your neighbours. Yeah, hello, Loz. You want to get up on here? You can. You want it? Oh no. He's sitting right on the microphone and giving me. You can probably only see his head. There you go. And he likes to feed on my beard. Yeah. All right. I'm getting very, very distracted. Look, come on, throw me in some more things. I'm already 20 minutes beyond where I said we might finish. I'm quite happy to keep talking. Where have we got? Let's just see where everyone's from. Are we all on YouTube? YouTube and Twitch. Okay. All right. Anyone else got a bird as a companion? Or who in the audience is actually a bit of a bird nerd? Yeah, let's find out who the bird nerds are. I'm pleased that I've got a tradie in here who found us on the who's live streaming, who is now going to be a regular. Well, that's great to hear, Aussie Welder. I can tell you that I'm going to be a bit scattergun over May when I'm streaming, but then in June, my plan is to get back to my regular midday on a Monday or 1 o'clock on a Monday and streaming on a Friday, talking about photography, and try to do Tuesday or Thursday talking about tourism, and then filling in the gaps wherever guests are available. So yeah, so that's my wish. I'm not making a promise because I don't know if I'm going to have the mental bandwidth to keep up with it. But up until the end of the year, I want to be putting a lot of effort into more bird content and Yeah, and then I'm working on my plan to maybe take a lot of my stuff overseas. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing teaching English as a second language. Charlie, big bird nerd here. Obviously, when you know the Red Robin trifecta, I had picked that one. Good one. Lestified. Hello, Lestified. I don't know. I don't know Lestified. Good to have you here. First timer, maybe. I don't know. Let us know. Did the Greens leader lose their seat in Melbourne? Not yet determined. On the AEC, the Electoral Commission, are not counting today, and Melbourne has not been allocated to the Greens. I did watch both the Sunday Shot and most of Insiders today, and there's a good chance that Adam Bant will keep that seat, but there's equally a possibility that that it will that he'll lose it. We'll have to see what the next bout of counting tomorrow means. Max Chandler, what's his name, has lost his seat. Where's he? In Queensland, I think, isn't he? I can't remember, but yeah, he's gone. Lestified says, yeah, first time, and thank you. Tomorrow I'm out on placement, so I won't be doing a show tomorrow, but I will do something on Tuesday, and then we can have a look at a bit more of the makeup of the Senate and the House, and I'll try not to go over everything we've talked about today. Can you see Loz sitting on the microphone? You might have a bit of trouble hearing me. If I get too close, Loz bites my beard like now, or he nips at my face. Yeah, it will certainly be close in Melbourne. There's a lot of seats that will be very close. We'll know most of them on Monday. I don't think we'll know by sort of Monday afternoon, I would reckon. I think the Senate will take quite a while to shake out. But we can be thankful for small mercies. No trumpet of patriots in the lower house. Pauline Hanson's daughter did not win her seat. There is now a very significant buffer in the lower house for the government, so they have the opportunity to be bold if they want to. So I've been saying I want a champion for the environment in the environment portfolio. I don't know whether Plibersek will remain in it. I don't know how I feel about it if she does. Come on, Loz, you need to come on. There we are. Over there. Come on. All right, come on. There we are. Anything else any of you would like to add? Oh, look, we've got a bunch more come in. YouTube's rocking. I guess you're all discovering the live. Okay. We have been talking. I'll reintroduce. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. I'm a plant nerd. I'm a horticulturist. I'm also an accountant, but I don't do that anymore, so don't blame me. And we've been talking about the outcome of the Australian election, but mostly I've been bitching about how not enough of the focus is on biodiversity retention, habitat retention, and I believe that the government is using climate change to confuse people to think that climate change means conservation, and that is the biggest load of frog shit that anyone's going to be served up. The other good thing, I did look in the results for Melbourne, and thank Christ, Anthony Koutoufides managed about 3% of the vote. So I hope he fucks off. Attention-seeking fucking tosser. I think election stuff was suppressed because I wasn't finding anything until it was called. Can you elaborate uh, what you mean? Where you couldn't find it? I mean, last night I was watching the ABC count. We did the live stream on here, and a bunch of people were coming in and watching along with me. I was pretty happy about that. Um, uh, the ABC coverage of the Greens this year was very average at best and often dismissive of their relevance. It was odd. I got a different take on that with you than you. The Greens hitched their wagon to the idea of championing renters. Now, I'm not against that. I think that was good. I also like what's his name, Jordan. I can't remember all their names when I'm on the spot. Now, I think that was good, but I think they lost their focus on biodiversity, habitat. I, I reckon they all just thought, yeah, everyone knows that we're about that. Right. The barrier reef. Larissa Waters has been pretty good. But um, I reckon their message got a bit confused. And even though so many people were championing their cause, I, for one, have kind of lost faith uh, in their effectiveness and their messaging. I think they're getting plenty of headlines, but I wasn't happy that they seem to lose the focus now, and that needs to be fleshed out a bit because in Europe, the Greens are a very good left party, and they have moved beyond Greens, but we're not at that stage in Australia yet. And the percentage of the vote that they got yesterday, between, depending on where you look, 10 and 12%, is still fringe. And they need to be able to solidify that. I think they need to be getting 15 to 20%, really talking about the environment. It's their strength, and they have no competition in that field. They need to be doing that. On Insiders. Yeah. Insiders was a bit bonkers this morning. What was it? Josh Bornstein, pretty good. Samantha Maiden's takes I thought were a bit weird. I thought were pretty weird. How it shakes out and what people think the reasons for things are will be very interesting to read over the next week or two. And I'll be really interested to hear what Adam Bandt thinks, and I'd be interested in like reading what Christine Milne, Bob Brown, what they think. When I was online looking for elections content, only 5 or so videos were available. Then election was called. Then boom, my feed was full. Do you mean last night that once Anthony Green called the result of the election, or whoever it was on Channel 7 or Channel 9 or Channel 10? Channel 10 still a thing? Is that what you mean? Yeah. Here we go. Charlie says, I like the Greens, but I agree. The messaging was all over the place. Also, they bombarded me in the last 4 months with emails and texts, even a phone call once 3 days before the vote. Yeah, it was almost as unwelcome as TOP text. I yeah, I think they really did get their messaging completely wrong. Um, Charlie, you're a natural ally of the Greens. So am I. Uh, but I didn't vote Greens one. I did put them above the ALP. Certainly, I put all the shit parties at the bottom. I mean, I'm a pretty strategic voter. Um, but frankly, I thought that, uh, I thought the Greens may in fact be a bit of a wasted vote because I'm not happy in the way that they broadened their message. And I know people say you can't vote for Greens because they need to they need to become a party of government. Yeah, once they start getting 20% of the vote, right? If they can consistently get between 15 and 20% of the vote, yeah, I'm really interested in their housing policy. Up until then, I want them to bang on about the environment and conservation and biodiversity and climate change every day. And then I want them to use their influence in the Senate to force the government to do stuff about renters and housing and whatnot. But I don't want their messaging to chiefly be in that area. I want them to use their influence and their clout to achieve things, but I want their messaging to be consistently about the environment and conservation and the quality of the Great Barrier Reef and, you know, essential climate change action. That's where I want them to do because that's what everyone expects and that is their strength. So I might be wrong. I might be completely wrong. Uh, let's see. And they could have run on any one of their policies if anyone compared side by side. The Greens had a great plan, just no one spoke to. Yeah. See, everyone endorsed in the conservation field, Biodiversity Council, everybody endorsed the Greens policies. And I agree. I just wasn't confident that they were the political animals that they need to be. Lester Fight, thank you. I was in some random. What do we got here? I was in some random polling boost stream on YouTube. It was wild in the chat, I must say. Sometimes I think it's great when I've only got 10 or a dozen people in chat because it doesn't get bonkers. I can't imagine what it's like to have 10,000 people watching your YouTube and trying to manage your chat. I mean, you just couldn't. What is Labor messaging around housing? Okay. Labor's in the process of building 85,000 homes, affordable homes. That messaging has been lost. I think they've only completed something like 800 homes, but the planning is underway, and we don't have enough people to build those homes in the country at the moment. So there's a whole lot of stuff that needs to be solved to get the housing done, right? I don't want them to clear the land for new homes until we've got the builders to build them. Because in the meantime, that the animals, insects, etc., birds that rely on that habitat, wherever it is and whatever it is, get displaced, and then nothing happens, and then we get invasive species into that vacant land. So we need to get the processes right, and I think they're trying to do that. But these are hard things to do. There isn't much point. There's plenty of point getting the planning done, getting the permits done, uh, getting everything in train. But if we don't have enough people to build the homes, there's no point clearing the land, in my view. And if we are clearing the land, we then need to look at the things like uh, what is the habitat value. I mean, we go through all those horrible issues about offsets, and so it's not as simple as saying, yeah, we need to build 85,000 homes. We do need to do that, and we do need to stop overseas investors warehousing homes, but we also need to stop pricks from uh, who are probably down at Portsea this weekend at their beach house. We need to stop those pricks warehousing homes too. But yeah, so Labor's message, I think, was getting this affordable housing process in place, and it's going to be imperfect, right? But I'd rather have 85,000 homes in an imperfect system than in 3 years' time talking about we need 150,000 homes now. I like incremental progress. And I like when we start making progress, we can look at, gee, how did we do? What did we fuck up? What can we fix? What can we improve? What worked? What didn't work? Now, I'm going to get through. Lestified, that's a really good question. Let's get there. I'll just cycle through what we got. I felt exactly the same. Lucky I'm in a safe Labor seat, so hopefully I was helping add to the numbers. There were a lot of MAGA cultists aplenty in that chat yesterday. Yeah, fuck. I consume a lot of American and British political stuff, and compulsory voting means that MAGA is never going to take hold here. And anyone who is a MAGA cultist in Australia, we're always going to look at them like they're a fucking freak, as they are. Lestified. What's affordable housing to Labor there, though? Now, this is a really interesting question, and let's talk about that in a minute. Aussie Welder, I just want to bring this up. Need to run for a while. Take care, if not online when I get back. We may well be still online. Let's see, because thanks for jumping in and taking part, because that's how live streams work well, when people take part. So I really appreciate that. Nice to make your acquaintance. I hope Perth's going well today. And I hope you do not barrack for the West Coast Eagles. I'll just get that dig in. Loz is playing with my hat that is hanging on the tree over here on my blue cap. What's affordable to Labor, though? Okay. What is affordable? Okay. That's a different thing to different people. If you're someone like me, a solo person, now my income is derived from producing podcasts and live streams for people. It's minuscule. I live on starvation money. I actually am below the poverty line, but I don't care because it's enough for me. I don't want anything more. I don't have a car. That's a conscious choice. I don't have a mortgage. I pay rent. So affordable to me is something different to someone with 4 kids who are school age and who works 25 kilometres from where they live. So so there are different scales of affordable. So it's not one size fits all. So we need to have affordable studio apartments, affordable 1 and 2 bedroom units, affordable 3-bedroom units. We need affordable 3 and 4 bedroom family homes in locations that are convenient to transport. This is why warehousing land in the suburbs with all the amenities is fucked. And the people who continue to do that, and this is why I'm on board with YIMBYism and not NIMBYism, is because we can't keep extending outwards, because there aren't schools, there aren't buses, there aren't trains, there aren't even fucking milk bars or supermarkets in many of these places. So you put low income people out there because that's where they can afford a house, and they got no fucking services. So then they they become virtual ghettos, and it's fucked, in my view. And we can extend all those ideas out. But these are conversations we have to have, not just with town planners and with community groups who are meeting at 8 o'clock in the local library on a Wednesday or Thursday night, because the people who really need to be in those conversations are putting kids to bed, right? Or out doing a night shift or driving an Uber, right? So these conversations need to be multifaceted. They need to take place in very varied places. Forums like this, chatbot bots, surveying the community, face-to-face, door-knocking surveys, a whole lot of stuff that needs to happen that doesn't happen. Putting something on a website, one page on a website, and asking for comment is not adequate. So Lestified says, yeah, housing is 500k to 700k in my area. My house was only worth 90k in 1995. Okay, I live in St Albans. Minimum blocks here, minimum houses around here is $800,000. If you need a 20% deposit, it's going to take you 15 to 20 years to save for that deposit. In the meantime, you're renting. So the whole thing is arse about. We need to temper what people's expectations are. I think we need to stop advertising that happy and successful people are buying 3-bedroom established homes in beautiful suburbs, because most people can't aspire to that unless their parents give them the deposit or will guarantee a loan and give them the deposit. So we need to temper the expectations for what people should want. There are whole societies in Europe. There are whole cities in the US where you only ever rent a home and no one looks down at you for being a renter. So we have to change all this. People were very, very lucky here in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and even up to 1995, as Lestified has just mentioned. 90k in 1995. Now, I don't know where you are, but I'm in St Albans, and that's one of the shitholes of Melbourne. And in my little part of St Albans, you need $800,000 to $1 million to buy a house that all the developers are just knocking down and putting 2 or 3 townhouses on. So basically, let's say you're a school leaver or you've just graduated from uni and you've just got married and you're looking to have your first kid and you're going to save for a house. You're going to need $1.5 million to buy a family home, at least. And Pakenham will be much more. And you're probably going to be looking at buying a place in Rosedale, right? So I think anyone who can look at how things have developed in the last 30 or 40 years, we need to wind back the expectations of what people can buy, should buy, need to buy, and how we view people. I remember the last time I was looking for somewhere to live before I found where I am now, and I share with another single man who is a bit older than me, and this is actually his joint. So I rent, I sublet from him, right? And I'm quite happy with it. But I was looking for studio apartments or 1-bedroom places, and they are scarce as hen's teeth. Now that's dumb because there's a lot of people like me. The idea that someone like me needs to find 3 or 4 other people to live with to rent a pretty shitty family home in suburbs like Taylor's Hill or Sydenham, or even going out to Craigieburn and places like that, is insane. That's my view. I may be wrong, but yeah, that's my view. And before I moved here, I had never been to St Albans. I was completely focused on the other side of Melbourne. I grew up down on the Mornington Peninsula. Before that, I had lived in East Gippsland and Gippsland. I had worked out there. So I'd never even been out here. I'd only ever driven through Footscray. I think I'd been to a Vietnamese restaurant maybe twice or something in my life in Footscray. My knowledge of Footscray was that Victoria University was there somewhere, and there were the Western Bulldogs, right? So, but now I think looking at 15 years, might even be longer, Westie, and there's some deprivation in the areas around here, but there's also some pretty flash joints around here too. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is insane that you have to share with 4 people just to live in these suburbs. I mean, when I used to make a podcast about migration to Australia, what's going on? Oh, there we are. Lestified. First time I went to Footscray, I got robbed. Well, count your blessings that you didn't get stabbed or shot, because that's what happened in Footscray last week. The cops shot someone who's obviously had some mental health issues. Where was I? What was I going to say? Yeah. I've met people who have been international students here in Melbourne who are living in 2 or 3 bedroom apartments, and there's 11 or 12 of them living in that. Now, I reckon that's shameful. I think it's shameful that we have pensioners in Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane who are barely having enough to eat and are having to live in shithole boarding houses. So the idea of what's affordable, I think, to me, you just need to be able to live a dignified life in a secure, suitable dwelling. That's how simply I would put it. I don't, and I think you can branch out from there based on the circumstances of the person. And what is appropriate is going to be different for someone like me than someone who is part of a couple with maybe 2 or 3 school-age kids. I was looking for my lost pet the other week, and I tripped over a homeless person. And when I got up off my feet, I realised there was dozens of Aussies just sleeping out in the open. It was horrible. Yeah. There are frequently people who sleep in the park across the door from my place. There are. Now, sometimes people say to me, "You're such a bleeding heart. Why don't you let them live at your place?" Okay, well, we could ask my housemate, and maybe we could think about. We've got a shed. Maybe we could have a camp bed or something in there. But the problem is, many. I don't want to overgeneralize, but certainly the people around here that I'm familiar with, who I know are homeless, they have really severe mental health issues. Many of them have very severe drug issues. And I don't think that we have to deal with that. I think that's the community's problem, the community's responsibility to deal with that. So I'd like to tax the fuck out of Gina Rinehart and Clive Palmer and all these pricks who are warehousing investment properties. I'd like these services to exist and to be adequate. Charlie Burgo. I know international students that live 10 in a two-bedroom unit. It's a danger and illegal. These scum landlords provide rice and bread as well. It's disgusting. Yeah, it is. But you know what the fourth most important industry is for the Australian economy? I hope you do. I'm going to wait until you tell me, and then I will tell you what I know. Yeah, I can't house them. I have school age kids. Plus, my house is too small. Yeah, and it's not your responsibility to house them. Right? You know, your responsibility is to bring up kids who don't become problems and who can achieve to their full potential. Your job is to make sure that your kids are not problems for everyone else's kids later in life, right? So it's not your responsibility to house the unhoused, and it's not mine. But it is your responsibility to pay the appropriate amount of taxation, as is mine, as is everyone else's. And we need to stop making it easy for people to not contribute appropriately to the right kind of percentage. So, and once upon a time, I used to help people arrange their affairs so that they did not pay the same proportion of tax as I currently do now, and that you probably do if you're a wage earner. So, yeah, I have left the dark side. Let's see. I think it was about 2015 the last time I bought a copy of the Master Tax Guide. So yeah, so I'm about 10 years. I'm about 10 years, 10 years clean. Yeah, and look, I understand you get seduced by money and income. I certainly did. But guess what? I was a bit of a prick. In fact, I was probably a massive prick. I would, current day me, if I met 2014 me or 2013 me, I would probably come away and go, that bloke's a massive prick. And he's helping all these tax dodging, primary producing, dairy farmer, hay fodder growing pricks avoid their taxation. And I was. So I put my hand up to it, right? I used to be a massive prick. So there's hope for all of you. Even you, Adrian Portelli. You massive prick. Anyway, I'm probably going to get sued. Yeah. So, anything else you want to say? I can hear my housemate's watching football. I can hear the whistle going out there. I don't even know who's playing. He's a Hawthorn supporter, so I'm guessing it's probably Hawthorn. All right, let's go back to Open Slather. Anything you would like me to be covering in the meantime? And actually, look, I'm assuming you're hanging around long enough to have found the conversation either interesting or worthwhile. I want to sample the audience. I know Charlie's a bird nerd. Who else is here? Who else is here for the conservation messaging? Who's here for my bad language? Who's here for the politics? Lestified. I don't get seduced by money. I just want enough to provide the same kind of life my parents gave me, which feels like it's slipping away. All right, I'm going to tell you a story now. I'm 59. I just had a birthday. I'm single. I'm active on social media sites promoting the bird emergency, and I have been in the past promoting other podcasts that I've been involved in, I get approached at least twice a day by young women who are looking to provide some kind of favors to a single older man because they can't make ends meet. So they can't pay their rent, or because perhaps they've got a mortgage, or that they can't meet. I reckon that's shameful. I'm not judging them for the choices that they make, but we've got to have a good hard look at the society that we are building. And I'm sure a lot of the people that I come across, and maybe people who have daughters in their 20s, early 30s, this might be them, right? Because you'd never know. You would never know if it was them. So we're kind of fucking things up, right? We're fucking things up pretty badly. And we're not having the conversations we need to have about the kind of society we want. We make a lot of assumptions about what people should do, how things should be, but we're not making it happen. And I know I'm going on and on and on about the same thing over and over and over again. My issue is biodiversity. That is my issue. That's why I do a podcast called The Bird Emergency, which is about making sure we don't lose all the birds. But I'm also now a realist, and I realize that a lot of the birds that I care about are probably functionally extinct, and that we probably don't have enough habitat to support stable populations of those species now. So when you have a government that says no more extinctions, we need to have a conversation about what that actually means. Yeah. Lestified says, I wouldn't judge them either. It just sucks. Life is moving in the wrong direction. Yeah. Because we've got pricks who are unbelievably wealthy. Just think about in your own life. How many people do you know in your own family or within your own community? Maybe your football group, maybe you've got kids at scouts or playing netball or just in the school community. How many people do you know who've got 2 or 3 houses? Right? I've already said I think they're a bit of a prick, but how many of them do you reckon actually give a fuck about the people who are sleeping in the park over here? Or how many of them are just stepping over with disgust at the people who are begging at the outside the door of your local Woolworths or Coles? Because that's what happens here every day over here. Lestified. I'm also a bird lover. I feed them every day. Lestified. There are about 4 episodes of The Bird Emergency about feeding birds, and it is something that I have wrestled with over the years. I'm not going to tell you what to do or how to do it, but I would encourage you to have a listen to what some of the people from BirdLife and some vets and a few others have had to say about that. I must say, I encourage people to be involved with the birds they see around them every day. So yeah, and look, I have this for Loz, but I have also been using it to feed honeyeaters and lorikeets in the past here, and also wild bird mix and all that kind of stuff. But currently, I don't feed because when I was doing it, the park was full and of up to 100 corellas and long-billed little corellas, sulphur-crested cockatoos, and it was noisy and it was actually a bit antisocial for my neighbours. All the boomers I know have multiple houses. Okay. You know a lot of pricks. Yeah. Now, I bet those people have never, ever considered the ethics of that. because it's not something that our society challenges people to do. In fact, if you just sit down and watch the advertising and any of the discussions that we have a look at the news, have a look at all the ads, have a look at all the lifestyle programs. You know, it's almost expected that that is your aim in life, to have your own home and then to have an investment property. Right. So I might be totally wrong. I'm happy for people to explain to me why, but I just think it's a bit shit. I'll check it out because I don't know if I should be or not. Yeah, Lestified, you might find that the Bird Emergency YouTube channel, and you'll have to look at mostly past live streams because in most cases I don't upload them just as videos. I really need to go through and do that. But yeah, have a look. You'll see there's plenty of stuff that I talk about. I grew heaps of sunflowers this year and let the birds go nuts. Okay, so yes, I do want you to listen to those episodes. I will say, if you are seeing things like lorikeets eating sunflower seeds, stop it. Even cockatoos and stuff, sunflower seeds are bad for these birds. I'm not telling you not to feed. I'm telling you to look at some other ways to feed them. Yeah, it increases their body fat, and it's just like having obese people. Obese birds are bad. And there's also issues of birds feeding together with especially parrots, parrot beak and feather disease. It's a virus, highly contagious. There's no cure, and it's really quite awful. So yeah, I would encourage you to go and check those out and have a listen to what the experts say. Because I'm not an expert, I'm a bird nerd. I talk to experts so that I can find out what experts say and think and what experts do. Yeah, wow, look at that. Loving how the chat's been going off. Thanks. I will definitely check out your content. Yes, I would say you should. I hope it's entertaining and informative. Yeah, please do. Okay. Anyone want to throw up another content off a topic? I feel like we've got right off the whole election thing, but I think we've covered it. And until we've got some more results and from the Senate, I think we've sort of pushed that as far as we can. I really do want to see what the Greens decide to do, plan to do, how they move, how they position themselves. Because here's the conundrum. Somebody needs to be the champion for renters. Somebody needs to be pushing that to the forefront of our discussions. But it should be left-leaning people. It should be the Labor Party, in my view. Now, the Greens were doing it, and I'm not against them doing it, but I think their messaging got confused. So, yeah. Lestified. Where was I happy with the election results? Okay, let's look at that a number of ways. I'll leave that up. Yes, because we don't have Conservatives in power, and we especially don't have Peter Dutton. So, yes, by that measure, I was happy with it. Am I also happy that Labor have a majority, which means that they can probably build towards another term? Absolutely, I am. But at the same token, I am not at all happy, and I think I mentioned this, or certainly this is how I opened the stream today. I'm happy with the progress that we're making in climate action and reshaping the economy to be based around renewables and new technologies and all that kind of stuff. But I'm also very mindful that a lot of that moving that way has implications for biodiversity and conservation. and perhaps even social justice. And we're not having that conversation. And I'm certainly not happy that the Labor Party, without being forced in the Senate to do things, that's why I'm really interested in how the Greens and maybe any other independents in the Senate, what their leanings will be and how they can influence government policy and outcomes. So, yes, I'm generally happy, but no, I am not yet happy that my hobby horse issues, being biodiversity preservation, habitat preservation, support for conservation and research, and then a whole lot of cascading issues below that, may not be addressed. And a government with a very substantial majority, as this government will now have, may not be forced to tackle any of these issues because we, as a community, scientists, Greens politicians, independents, think tanks, whoever you like to talk about, you, your best friends, your Uncle Pete, we haven't been having these conversations and we haven't made it a national imperative. As Charlie mentioned before, just come back from bird watching up at Winton and seeing kangaroos in distress because either there's not enough water or there's not enough feed, not enough food resources for them. Right? We know people want nature in cities. Look at how people flock to the webcams for the peregrine falcons. Look at how people like to see when there's platypus in the Yarra River. I know when I was in Queensland, you go to Crystal Creek and Paluma, and there's massive crowds looking at known platypus locations. There's busloads of people stopping off there to have a look. People value wildlife. We just don't value it enough or the way that makes us protect it. So, no, I'm possibly not happy. Now, less defied, there will be debates in Parliament, but the debates that count will be in Senate committees and on the floor of the Senate. What I want is that Greens and maybe an independent like Pocock have the balance of power in the Senate, that the government must negotiate with those senators to get legislation passed. The lower house is going to basically, things are just going to be presented by the government and they will be passed. But they're not legislation, they're not law until they get through the Senate. And that's why voting for independents or Greens or splitting your vote in the Senate tactically, depending on who your candidates are, is a way to ensure that governments can initiate an agenda, but it can be improved in the Senate. I don't like it. I don't like that the Senate can be a roadblock for progressive legislation. My personal preference is that the Senate can fine-tune and improve legislation that is presented by the government in the House of Representatives. And there's a whole process. There's Senate select committees, there's lower house committees, there's joint committees. There are lots of issues. And here we go. Pocock is that bald guy, former Australian rugby player. I generally like him too, but how he funds his campaigns is a little bit of a worry. Who influences him is a bit of a worry. I have the same issue with a lot of the Teals too, in that basically the Teals are liberals who are not out and out shit liberals, right? We have Cheney. Her dad was a minister in the Fraser government. Spender. Her grandfather, I think it was her grandfather, it may have been a great uncle, was a Liberal politician in the deep dark past. She's got a couple of generations of conservative ministers in her family tree. Now, I'm not saying that makes them bad. I'm just saying that makes their perception of the world possibly quite different to yours and mine. So I don't believe that we want to be putting all of our faith into someone who represented Australia in rugby union, an elite, rich person sport. I don't want the fate of the Swift Parrot only in his hands. Although I do trust him to make good decisions if presented with that possibility. I don't know if that's obtuse enough for you. I would recommend, if you don't already know about Friendly Geordies on YouTube, and if you don't already know about the West Report, Michael West Media on YouTube, I would encourage you. I'll put it in the chat. These are YouTube channels I think you should check out. Friendly Geordies, that's Jordan Shanks on YouTube. Well, Friendly Geordies is the channel. And the other one is the West Report. That is Michael West Media. I've got caps lock. Sorry about that. Also, I would encourage you to look up Juice Media. There would be 3 places I would encourage you to check out. Friendly Geordies has a... Now, Jordan is a rusted-on Labor Party supporter, but generally his takes are pretty good. He waged a vendetta against the Liberal state government in New South Wales and the gaming industry. He's deeply concerned with koala habitat in New South Wales. And he's very, very aware and well researched about where funding for independents, Teals, and Liberal candidates come from. The Labor Party is basically funded by unions. I think we all know that, and other donations. I would encourage you to check out that. Michael West has also some good information about funding and conflicts with funding, and these are all within the last couple of months. You'll find those videos. So if you go to those channels, Jordan's house. Twice they tried to burn him down. He was also sued, prosecuted, but the prosecution wasn't successful for his attacks on John Barilaro, his verbal attacks, his exposés. So Jordan's someone who puts his money where his mouth is, takes a risk, says what he thinks. I don't always agree with all of his takes, but they're generally pretty good. Like, I don't line up with him on everything, but a lot of the stuff he has said, I absolutely agree with, and I'm some of the stuff I knew, and I'm really glad that he is presenting it to an audience that is much, 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 much bigger than mine. But hopefully, when you all subscribe to the YouTube channel now, we'll start to build this. My first target is 500 subscribers on YouTube, then 1,000, and once you get to 1,000, you start to get recommended in the algorithm. So this is a long game. I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years. I started with the podcast, I think, talking about birds and conservation. It's a long road and it's pretty tough. You sit on your ass doing this for hours and hours on end. And I'm always hope that each time I do it, I pick up one or two people who then start to think about things and start to think, gee, how's that going to affect the birds? How's that going to affect the 3 red robins that Charlie saw saw him today, saw today up at Winton? I don't always agree with him, but I like that he challenges the status quo. Yeah. Hey, you shouldn't agree with someone all the time anyway. You're right. Because we all have different perspectives and different lived experiences and different things that we want achieved either by society or even within our own family and our own personal relationships. But life's about compromises, right? My starting point is no compromise and I want everything. That's my starting point. But you never get it, right? But I also don't want to have a bucket full of shit. So yeah. So I appreciate you all jumping in today. I'm reaching out to a whole bunch of people. I am streaming to my other podcast channel on YouTube, which is called Not Just Another Podcast at the moment, as well as the Bird Emergency. I am trying to build up. I want to move my blatantly political stuff off the Bird Emergency channel and into Not Just Another Podcast. So let's see. Can I get the link for that? If you look up Not Just Another Podcast, and you'll see that the logo is not in red, just in black, another in grey, and podcast in black. It's just a little logo. If you look for that and subscribe to that, that's where I will be doing rants like this that are not necessarily conservation focused. And I'll be reaching out to interview a lot of people like Jordan. And I'll probably, this is not to say don't subscribe to that channel because I want you to, but while I'm building one up and there is an audience already at the Bird Emergency, I'll probably stream to both like I'm doing today and to my Twitch and to Facebook, because the aim is to hit as many people as possible. But ultimately, I would like to just be doing stuff on YouTube and not having to worry about all the old fogies and stuff on Facebook. Actually, is anyone on Facebook now? No. See, nobody's watching on Facebook at the moment. But sometimes I get lots of people on Facebook. It's really weird. Also, Sundays are a difficult day because people have got other things that they have to do. I understand that. Thank you, Lestified. Yeah, we have a good little community in the Bird Emergency when I'm streaming, generally during the middle of the day. We got some regulars and we've got regular people in the gardening thing on a Saturday. And I do this to try and build community, trying to build discourse. I haven't had enough time to, while I've been studying, to get on with that, but I'll hassle you all about that at another time. Geez, I'm getting a lot of people following me on Blue Sky and Twitter. This is what happens when I go on rants, when I'm insanely ranting, and I'll let you know. I'll just have a look at my profile on Twitter at the moment. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky, on Twitter it's at Bird Emergency, and on Blue Sky it's at the Bird Emergency. Now, I joined Twitter in 2017, about 12 months ago. When Elon turned Twitter into a Nazi hell site, I decided to leave Twitter. But I, in the end, didn't. But at that stage, I had 3,000 followers. Now I've got 4,500 followers. Oh, no. Oh, no. That's wrong. I read it wrong. I got it around the wrong way. No, I've lost 100 followers since I decided I wasn't going to use Twitter. And most of those people, I think, have left Twitter. Okay. Sorry. I was just going to be amazed that I've got 1,000 more followers than I used to, but I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Lestified, can you ask a bird question? Absolutely. You can ask any kind of question. I really like bird questions because sometimes I can answer them correctly. Um, uh, I've just seen a update. Tim Wilson is not conceding in Goldstein. Now that's where Zoe Daniel is standing for the Teals. She holds the seat at the moment, and doing it with such typical grace is hardly surprising. Remember his behaviour last time. And Cheryl Kerno has just said at 3:52 there were 90 votes in it. So Zoe was 90 votes ahead, I believe. So fingers crossed that the vote tally keeps going in Zoe Daniels' favour. All right. Yes, you can ask a bird question. Let's see what it is. I just thought I'd give you that update since we are doing a politics stream today. I've got to say, apart from Dutton, Tim Wilson is the one Liberal that I would like to know. I'd like Tim Wilson to not be back in Parliament. Okay. Lestified says, because you're a Victorian, you might know the big black bird that we have with clear bluey eyes. Is it a raven or a crow? Now, whereabouts in Victoria are you? That will give me a hint, but I am going to get my bird book and okay. This is the bird book we all need. Okay. Crows and ravens. Let me get to the diagnostics because they are difficult to tell apart. But there are some you can tell from their vocalizations. If you can't see them side by side, it's difficult to determine if you have a crow or a raven. But their voice will tell you. Okay. If you tell me where you are, it's unlikely to be a crow. Little crows are basically no longer found in Victoria. They do occasionally get seen up around that Sunraysia region. So it's going to be a raven on the balance of probabilities. Is it an Australian raven or a little raven or a forest raven? That is the question. The Australian raven is big and has hackles, has big hackles. The forest raven is found in the coastal fringe in forest. So you're in Pakenham. Okay. It's most likely to be a little raven. The little raven, the thing that you'll be able to tell. Now, I don't know, were you listening when, or were you here when I put the bird call website up? I'm just going to put it in the chat again. Now, if you go to that website and search for little raven, Australian raven, and forest raven, you will find some sound recordings as well as some pictures, but it's the sound recordings that will help you work this out. I'm going to suggest it's a little raven. On the balance of probabilities at Pakenham, that's what it's likely to be. And if you go and play the calls, it says there's sound recordings that you can just go to. There is a very there's an obvious difference between the call of the Australian raven and the little raven. And I'm going to suspect that just like here in St Albans, you will be seeing and hearing little ravens. So that would be my thought. Australian ravens are quite substantially larger than little ravens, but unless you see them side by side, you're not likely to tell them apart. I sometimes see little Australian ravens here, and I can only be sure of it when I can see the hackles, and sometimes when I see them side by side. Is the little raven the size of a small cat? Well, I don't know what you would define a small cat, but see, I would say both of them are. But little ravens are substantially smaller than Australian ravens. And yeah, I would reckon a small domestic cat would probably fit the bill, but everyone's got their own view of what small and large is. Start with the call. If you're on the site now, have a listen. Little raven and Australian raven. It'll when you search them, you will be able to see on the page if you've got the Australian ones. I don't think there's any overseas little ravens. Could be wrong, but you can check that out, and then you can tell me once you've played the sound which one you think it is. And I think after that we'll wrap it up, unless someone's got something they really urgently want to discuss with me, because Loz is getting a bit grumpy now. He's a bit bored, so I'm going to have to give Loz something to play with. Yeah. I'm just going to put something meaningless in the chat. There we are. Lesterfield says, thanks for the info. There are crows around. They're just in northern Australia. Like when you see big blackbirds in Brisbane, you are seeing the Turasian crow. And the little crow is more in the arid region of Australia. So there are crows. And we do have a forest raven, but you'll generally see them in the forests. So they're a forest bird, so you generally see them in Gippsland and the Otways and whatnot. You're unlikely to see them in the suburbs of Pakenham, but you may see them down the Strzelecki Ranges. So you may see them in some dense gullies around Pakenham. Again, the forest raven, you can listen to their call and check it out. But definitely, mostly the greatest chance is that you are seeing and hearing little ravens. Would be my view. Oh, Loz, what are you doing? Yeah. So let us know. Let us know what you determined if you're on the site. Oh, yeah, good one, Loz. Okay, come on over here. Over here, come on. 4:30. Jeez. I'll just wait for that answer if you're looking, and then after that, I think we'll wrap it up. And Loz is upset. I want to thank everyone who was taking part today. Makes oh, Loz, what are you doing? Makes these live streams fun and hopefully informative for everyone who is listening and watching later. If you are watching later on YouTube or Facebook, hello, or on Twitch, on the VOD, hello, I'm Grant. Thanks for being here. Lestified, I hope we'll see you again. Charlie, good luck with with your next round of bird watching. Should probably get you sometime on the show to talk about your bird watching. I need to get up to Winton. I'm working on a project at the moment, which I won't talk about now because I talk about all these things I want to do, and then I either get distracted or it takes a lot longer to do them. Uh, Here we are, Lestified. Okay, beauty. I think you're right. It's a little raven. Yeah, just an educated guess based on the balance of probabilities of where you are. But yeah, um, if you listen to the Australian raven, the call's very, very different to the little raven. Um, uh, Highly intelligent birds. So yeah, enjoy your bird watching. Lessified, very nice to meet you all. Charlie, nice to see you again. Um, where else do we go? Just want to not miss anyone else. Yeah, Charlie, Aussie Welder, that was nice to meet your acquaintance today. Who do we have on early? Janice, thanks for jumping in, Janice. I've got to go right back. DJ, Tingus, the friendly fish. Who else did we get? Yeah, DJ, Tingus, whoever it was who made the unsavoury remark about someone who wasn't even prepared to make a proper name. Cherry Owl. Yeah, thanks everyone who popped in. Do make sure, even if you've been watching or on Twitch or Facebook, I would really appreciate if you head over to the Bird Emergency on YouTube and subscribe. There are some milestones you need to do on YouTube to be able to increase some more functionality, and then I'd really like to be able to do the old super chats and things like that on YouTube eventually. But I'm 600 subscribers short from all of that. So yeah, if you know anyone who's into birds or would appreciate my style of ranting about politics, share. Recommend me to people, and do follow me on what am I saying? On the Twitter at Bird Emergency for the Twitter, or if you're using Blue Sky at the Bird Emergency. Aussie Welder, you're back just in time for me to piss off. I think we've just about finished. Anything you want to bring up before we bail out? I did make a bit of a mess with this water on here. I've got it all over my bird book. We've successfully identified a little raven while you've been away, sight unseen, using the marvellous resource of Xeno Cantor. Yeah, I'm going to pull the pin. Loz is now driving me crazy. He's bored. I need to get him access to his bath and his toys. It's bath time for Loz. And he's also I usually have that effect on a room. Yeah, all I can. I feel you. I won't be streaming tomorrow. I do have to go and observe some English language classes, but I will be streaming on Tuesday at some time. I try. Look, I'm assuming you're going to be working. I'll probably do a daytime stream and then maybe an evening stream on Tuesday. It really will depend when some more results are out, and and we can talk about things. So, yes, I've been through the roll call. Yes, take care, Aussie Welder. I'm pleased that you found your way in. A very fortuitous discovery. So yeah, I'm very, very, very pleased to have met all the new people today, and some of the returners. Especially great to see Janice again. I've done there's actually an episode featuring Janice if you trawl back through the live stream archives. So yeah, a lot of people who look, I know that you will find interesting things in the archive. My presentation of bird and conservation issues is substantially different than most of what you're going to find out there available, and that's the reason why I do it the way I do it. So, on that note, let's hope that Tim Wilson does not retake Goldstein and that Zoe Daniel is able to hang on to that seat. Yeah, what have we got? Oh, good on you, Aussie Welder, caring for mother. Good on you. Okay, so that's I can feel you. I was also a carer at some stage of my life for a family member, not totally dependent, but significantly dependent. Certainly meant I have an appreciation of that. Okay, folks, thank you again. I always appreciate when you're joining in. I hope you found it interesting or informative, and I look forward to catching you again on Tuesday at some stage. Let's hope it's a good Senate, hey? Cheers, everyone. Hooroo!